Chapter 43-33. His heart was beating wildly uncontrollably, as though it was going to jump out from his throat. This kind of unfamiliar feeling made Ren jamming himself a little unused to it. He took a deep breath and steadied himself. He took another determined step towards Yiqing Luo. But then I'll have to offend you. Young Master Zhao and Young Master Li sneered. Then they moved and shot out their dark force. Not knowing when, two long swords appeared in their hands as they directly slashed towards Yiqing Luo's face. Their actions were extremely swift and violent. They were certain that Yiqing Luo had no profound energy and was unable to avoid their attacks. Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian. Ren Jiaming's eyes widened as he screamed their names. Whoever dares to touch her, I want you to pay with your life. Just you? Zhao Quan snorted in disdain. The long sword in the book waved out a sword wave, majestic and thick. That was totally taking her life. Ren Jiaming swiftly pounced forward, trying to help Yiqing Luo to block this move. But his current body speed was not comparable to an ordinary person. He heard a few bam 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 exploding sounds. The strong profound wave set off thousands of huge waves. Layers and layers of it lingered in the sky. It also enveloped everything in front. Ren Jiaming's heart seemed to be pierced by something fiercely. Even his breathing seemed to have stopped. No. Impossible. Eldest young Miss was such a powerful person. She could even block Princess Xiaoju's attack. How could she be defeated by trash like Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian so easily? The Zhao and Li young masters are really daring, even daring to kill eldest young Miss of the Gu residence. If Bone Lord returns, will these young masters of the Zhao and Li family still be alive? Don't forget a few days ago. Eldest young Miss of the Gu residence and Princess Xiaoju's battle pet. Princess Xiaoju's battle pet crushed the Zhao and Li family's people to death. The Zhao and Li family are suppressing their hatred. Regarding this matter, we can only blame eldest young Miss of the Gu residence for being too arrogant. She's obviously a trash, but she still went around creating trouble. This is exactly the same as second young Master Ren. The two of them are really a match made in heaven. The surrounding cultivators couldn't help but mumble when they saw this scene. Many people were still staring in the direction of the surging profound waves. Soon the profound waves gradually dispersed. The indistinct silhouette caused everyone to freeze on the spot. In front of him, a black figure stood in front of the girl. A hand was placed on Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian's arms. Both of their attacks were stopped. Immediately after, the black figure's body erupted with a thick Xian wave. There were a few cracking sounds. The bones in their wrists were broken and they were thrown out. When the crowd saw the black figure clearly, they were shocked. Someone exclaimed, It's the secret guards of the Gu residence. Yes. Standing in front of Yiqing Luo, blocking all the attacks, was Gu Yi. His expression was solemn as he stood there, emitting a powerful profound glow from his entire body, protecting Yiqing Luo behind his back. Zhao and Li Zhongtian's arms were broken as they rolled on the ground in pain. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into an extremely faint smile as she slowly walked out from Gu Yi's back. Everyone can see clearly that you were the ones who tried to kill me first. So, even if I kill you, if the Zhao and Li family pursue this matter, it would merely be my legitimate self-defense. Yiqing Luo's expression changed slightly. Chapter 43-34. Li Zhongtian widened his eyes in horror. Eldest young Miss, are you sure you want to offend so many people just for a waste who has been removed from the Ren family? Zhao Quan hurriedly continued, I think with eldest young Miss's intelligence, you must understand that all these are eldest young Miss Ren's intention. If eldest young Miss is willing to give in and save second young Master Ren, eldest young Miss Ren will definitely be grateful to you. His tone was both threatening and seductive. Yiqing Luo heard that and her slender fingers hooked a lock of her hair as she gave a sarcastic smile. Really? What if I'm not willing? What does eldest young Miss Ren want to do to me? Zhao Quan's face instantly darkened. His voice was also filled with ruthlessness. Eldest young Miss, the reason why we call you eldest young Miss is because of the Gu residence. Now that Bone Lord is not in the heaven realm and the Emperor is far away, if we really want to do anything to you, are you sure that just a few secret guards will be able to protect you? Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she blinked her eyes, looking extremely cute. I'm also quite curious if they can protect me. Why not give it a try? Zhao Quan suddenly slammed the ground as he stood up from the ground. His facial features were all twisted into a ball. Eldest young Miss is indeed a member of the Gu residence. This young master admires your boldness. Since eldest young Miss wants to try, this young master will satisfy you. I'd like to know how many things Bone Lord gave you to protect your life. Li Zhongtian sneered as he clapped his hands. In an instant, about 30 guards dressed in martial attire appeared from all directions. In an instant, they blocked Yiqing Luo and Ren Jiaming in the middle. Yiqing Luo cried out and poked Gu Yi's back. How is it, based on your ability, these people won't be a problem, right? Gu Yi didn't want to speak. What did this eldest young miss treat him as? Even if he was the former captain of the secret guards, his ability was the strongest among the secret guards. But that didn't mean that he was invulnerable, impervious to fire and water, right? The other party was obviously well prepared. Those people were definitely not ordinary people. Still no problem? He was ridiculing in his heart. But Gu Yi's face was still expressionless as he looked at Yiqing Luo. I will risk my life to protect eldest young Mississippi. Tisk. There's no way to deal with it. Yiqing Luo sighed as she shook her head with a look of pity. Bone 1. Zhao Quan and Li Chongtian naturally heard the conversation between the two of them. The two of them burst into laughter at the same time. Are you afraid now? Eldest miss, you should know that in the heaven realm, other than Bone Lord, you have no one to rely on. Offending young Miss Ren won't do you any good. If you know fear, if you go and plead with young Miss Ren, perhaps young Miss Ren will let you go. Really? Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded from outside the crowd. Soon a group of people passed through the crowd and walked toward them. The onlookers, under the pressure of this group of people, unconsciously made way for them. Walking in the front was a man and a woman. Behind them were 10 men dressed in white, each of them tall and burly, imposing. Yiqing Luo's line of sight immediately fell onto that man and woman. The expression on her face revealed a J part shock and J part joy. Bam! A burst of profound waves surged. Those guards who were surrounding Yiqing Luo were all overturned by an invisible force. Chapter 43-35. Cooperative relationship, so she could move around freely in this Linglong Palace? Yiqing Luo? The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace gazed deeply at her face, as his voice sounded a little hoarse. The current him was no longer in Dmo Xian's appearance. That voice carried a layer of heavy. Like a machine as it blurred his original voice. It sounded extremely strange. What's the matter? Yiqing Luo asked coldly. I'm sorry. He sighed softly as he apologized helplessly. I didn't know that because of me, it would cause you to fall into this impasse. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly as her eyes were filled with ridicule. Didn't know? Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace, what on earth are you trying to express? She tilted her head as she gave a teasing smile. Could it be that the Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace really likes me? After scheming against me in secret, you ran over to explain in various ways. I don't know, I didn't do it on purpose, I really don't know anything. Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace, did I foolishly believe you and feel that you're very innocent? The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace suddenly raised his head, as the eyes under the black robe fell onto her. What did he want to say? But he didn't know how to explain. This matter, I really don't know anything. The words that I said to you are from my heart. The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace finally said helplessly. Pausing for a moment, he lowered his head as his voice became repressed. No matter if you believe me or not, I still want to explain to you clearly. But this matter, although it wasn't my original intention, but the matter is indeed. Because of me you were brought to Linglong Palace indeed. It's my fault. I'm sorry. The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace's eyes under the black robe shut tightly. He wasn't willing to look at that young lady's gaze which was filled with ridicule. He really didn't expect this. How could things be so coincidental? So coincidental that everything seemed as though it had long been arranged. Chapter 43-36. Huang Fuxing went up and gave him a gentle hug. Thank you. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo. Right now he was probably still a cowardly Pei Sheng who was holed up in the Earth Realm. Perhaps because of the auction house being forcefully taken back he would choose the same ending as his father, to commit suicide. He wouldn't be like now, standing in the Heaven Realm's territory. He wouldn't pluck up the courage to admit his feelings for Gu Zixi. The one he was most grateful for, the one he sincerely wanted to thank, was Yiqing Luo. The young lady smiled like a flower as she raised her head. Her brows were filled with a gentleness which belonged to her friends. No need to tell me, the one you should be most grateful to is Zixi. The three of them smiled at each other. The surrounding people were completely dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Huangfu family and eldest miss of Gu residence were old acquaintances? From the way they interacted, it was obvious that they had a close relationship. When had they ever seen such a gentle smile on eldest Miss of Gu Residence's face? The crowd instantly looked at the Zhao and Li family's young masters with sympathetic gazes. This was like kicking an iron bench. Ren family was one of the 4 heavenly families. This Huangfu family was also one of the 4 heavenly families. No one was worse than the other. The Ren family would absolutely not cause any conflict with the Huangfu family because of the Zhao and Li family. It could be said. The Zhao and Li family's actions today was to curry favor with others. It was totally looking for death. Young Master Huangfu, young Master Huangfu. Spare me, spare me. Zhao Quan was the first to react as he dragged his body, which was covered in blood, and crawled towards Huangfu Sheng's direction. Li Zhongtian also crawled over hurriedly. Young Master Huangfu, we were only entrusted by someone, we had no other choice. Zhao Quan immediately kowtowed towards Yiqing Luo. Eldest Miss, you're a magnanimous person. Please forgive our rudeness earlier, we only wanted to teach second young Master Ren a lesson. Yiqing Luo's lips curled as she smiled sweetly. Entrusted by someone? Don't tell me that you didn't. Want to become the master from a follower, so you intentionally sought revenge on Ren Jiaming? No. Li Zhongqian immediately opened his mouth. Second young Master Ren has treated us well, and we have always been following second young Master Ren. How could we have any personal grudges? We were all forced. Force? You're the young masters of the Zhao and Li family, who dares to force you? Yiqing Luo rubbed her chin as she glanced sideways at Ren Jiaming's direction. Do you think we were forced? Ren Jiaming wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He moved his body and wobbled a little. However, that pair of sinister eyes was extremely sharp. He sneered. Even if he didn't say anything, young Master Zhao and young Master Li also felt Ren Jiaming's anger. The two shivered and glanced at Huangfu Sheng. We were really forced. Second young Master Ren, we listened to you when we were with you. How could we dare to betray you? It's your big sister, your big sister. Zhao Quan suddenly raised his voice and suppressed Li Zhongtian's. It was Lady Ren who was worried about you. She hoped that you could return to the Ren family and live a good life as the future heir. That's why she came up with this plan. She wanted you to understand your status and your importance. They knew very well in their hearts. The first Miss of the Gu clan had purposefully questioned them in front of everyone. He wanted to force the name of Miss Ren from their mouths. Even if they lied, it would only infuriate the Huangfu family. Chapter 43-37. It was just that he had beautified Miss Ren. This way he was not lying. He could also protect Miss Ren's reputation. Zhao Quan felt that he was too smart. When Li Zhongtian heard this, he hurriedly nodded his head in agreement. When we received young Miss Ren's request, our hearts also did not approve of using such a method. However, you are after all our boss. Young Miss Ren is also doing this for the Ren family. We also cannot bear to see second young Master Ren abandon the entire Ren family for the young Miss of the Gu residence. Following Li Zhongtian's words, the surrounding crowd seemed to have thought of something. Instantly, the expressions on their faces became a little weird. That's right, Ren Jiaming was the future successor of the Ren family, the genius second young master that the Ren family thought highly of. The Ren family had high hopes for him. But now, because of his admiration for Miss Gu, he completely disregarded the Ren family. He did not even listen to his own elder sister's words. One must know, although Miss Gu had a very noble status, the entire heaven realm was talking about it. Bone Lord would marry the first young mistress to whoever emerged as the champion on the honor list. But, after all, the first Miss of the Gu residence was trash. A girl with no Shen strength and only knew some low-level tricks. So what if she had a noble status? If any family member married Miss Gu in order to get close to Bone Lord, this girl was not only unable to help the family with their business, they could not take in concubines or do anything that would let Miss Gu down, because there was still Bone Lord above them. Marrying Miss Gu, that was equivalent to marrying a flower vase, and a flower vase ancestor that could not be offended. So, the moment Miss Gu's identity was spread out, every single unmarried man was extremely excited. After knowing that Miss Gu was trash with no Shen strength, they were extremely disappointed. It was no wonder the eldest daughter of the Ren family would stop this marriage alliance. But, second young Master Ren was obviously already determined to marry Miss Gu. He would rather leave the Ren family to be together with Miss Gu. No wonder Miss Ren would think of such a method to force second young Master Ren to return home. Especially, seeing the recently popular young master of the Huangfu family being so close to Miss Gu. He wondered what the relationship between the two of them was. From the looks of it, even young Master Huangfu's fiancée had accepted the existence of the young miss of the Bone clan. Could it be that they had already discussed to share a husband? Facing the scrutinizing gazes of the crowd, Yiqing Luo didn't have too many emotions. She slowly straightened her body, her long and narrow eyes raised, carrying a hint of a smile, looking at the Zhao and Li family young masters. So that's how it is. Ren Jiaming let his big sister down. Yiqing Luo seemed as though she was convinced as she repeated these words. When Zhao Quan heard that, his eyes lit up as he looked at Yiqing Luo agitatedly and nodded his head vigorously. Yes. It's like this. Young Mistress Ren is also racking her brains to think of second young Master Ren. Enough, Zhao Quan. Don't say any more. Jianming, he won't listen. Suddenly, a voice filled with pain and helplessness came from the crowd. His voice was a little hoarse. The moment he heard the voice, Ren Jiaming's body suddenly tensed up. The onlookers cried out in surprise and quickly moved to make way for them. Chapter 43-38. The lady was dressed in a plain green long dress, outlining her exquisite waist. She stopped straightening her back. The expression on her face was the disappointment, helplessness and pain of an elder. Her imposing manner had the delicateness of a lady. It also had the vigor and prestige of a superior. Solemn and dignified. Just one look and everyone was able to recognize the lady's identity. Eldest young Miss Ren is here. Eldest young Miss Ren? For this useless brother, you've really put in a lot of effort. It's said that femme fatale, eldest young miss of the Gu residence, is also that fatale. We're both eldest young miss, but why is there such a huge difference? Don't say any more. Not only does she have Bone Lord backing her up, she also has the Huangfu family. If this gets to eldest young miss of the Gu residence's ears, you won't be able to bear the consequences. The surrounding discussions made Yiqing Luo speechless. They spoke so loudly. They totally had no intention to avoid her. She could hear them clearly without the need for others to pass it on, alright? Facing this bunch of retards, Yiqing Luo didn't even have the desire to bother about them. She lazily lifted her eyelids and squinted at Ren Jianming as her lips curled into a smile as she spoke in a lukewarm tone. Yo, isn't this eldest young Miss Ren? Ren Jianming's expression was solemn and cold as her gaze stopped on Yiqing Luo for several breaths before she placed all her attention on Ren Jianming. That exquisite and beautiful, yet dignified face instantly turned gentle. She sighed. Jianming, are you done messing around? Her tone was just the right amount of helplessness. She had controlled her emotions extremely well. But Yiqing Luo acutely discovered that when the lady turned her head and looked towards Ren Jianming, under her long hair, a portion of her fair neck was faintly revealed. On top, the mottled ambiguous traces were very obvious. Yiqing Luo clicked her tongue. This Ren Jianming was really incredible. She had just planned how to openly snatch back her brother's authority and arranged for people to seek revenge for her brother. And the moment she turned her head, she became entangled with her lover. She was indeed an ambitious lady. Her heart was rather big. Hearing Ren Jianming's words, Ren Jianming's face turned green and white as he stared at her with a venomous gaze. His hands were clenched into fists by his side. He seemed to be suppressing some sort of emotion. Ren Jianming didn't seem to notice. Putting on the airs of an elder, he advised earnestly, Jianming, I know what you're thinking. I also want to give you what you want. However, you are the pride of the Ren family, the hope of the Ren family. What you carry is the Ren family's everything. You can't be so willful. Jianming, I know that using this method to force you has hurt you, but I'm doing this for your own good. As she spoke, she sighed and slowly walked towards Ren Jianming. Ren Jianming narrowed his eyes. The moment Ren Jianming walked over, he took a sudden step back. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Huangfu Sheng helped him in time. Ren Jianming steadied himself and glared at Ren Jianming. There was indescribable hatred in his eyes. You get lost. He spat out two words with great difficulty. His voice was tense and trembling, and his body was also trembling slightly. Ren Jianming furrowed her brows and her expression turned grim. What's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well? Chapter 43-39. We wouldn't dare. Zhao Quan and Li Chongqian's faces turned pale instantly. He threw himself onto the ground and kowtowed hard. When second young Master Ren appeared, he was covered in injuries. Everyone can testify. Ren Jianming pursed her red lips tightly, her brows were sharp. Covered in injuries, who dares to touch our Rin family's successor? Zhao Quan and Li Chongtian knelt on the ground trembling and shook their heads desperately. Finally, Ren Jianying turned her gaze back to Ren Jiaming. Look at you, you just left the Ren family and you're already in such a state. Isn't it good to stay in the Ren family and be the Ren family's second young master? What should I say to you? Her face was filled with helplessness and heartache. After that, she sighed heavily. Who is the one who hurt you? Tell me, I will make the other party pay a painful price. Every word, and every action. All showed how much she valued and cared for Ren Jiaming. Her words were like sharp steel needles stabbing into Ren Jiaming's heart one by one. Yiqing Luo laughed as she watched. She had to admit that Ren Jianying's acting was really good, if it was in her previous era. He must also be a shadow follower level character. Luo. Huang Fusheng looked at the Ren siblings and looked at Yiqing Luo in puzzlement. Huang Fusheng had naturally heard about the relationship between Yiqing Luo and Ren Jiaming. After all, the news of Ren Jiaming's pestering towards the eldest miss of the Gu residence had spread throughout the old city. After seeing that the eldest miss of the Gu residence was Yiqing Luo, of course he wouldn't suspect that there was any special relationship between Yiqing Luo and Ren Jiaming. Luo's future husband was the high and mighty overlord. Tens of thousands of Ren Jiaming were no match for the overlord. But he was still very curious. Why would Yiqing Luo be acquainted with this Ren family's second young master who didn't have a good reputation? Don't you feel that? Eldest Miss Ren's acting is not bad? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly, her long and narrow eyes were filled with ridicule. She didn't intentionally lower her voice when she spoke. Naturally, the people around them heard it loud and clear. Ren Jianying's face froze for a moment. She raised her head and her gaze was slightly cold as she looked at Yiqing Luo, eldest young miss of the Gu residence. I don't know for what reason did you force Jian Ming to quarrel with his biological sister, even to the point of running away from home, but Jian Ming is my younger brother, the future successor of the Ren family. I will absolutely not allow you to destroy my younger brother, and destroy the Ren family. Her words of righteousness. Not only did she create the image of a good sister for herself, he even threw a pot onto Yiqing Luo. This caused everyone to unconsciously think that Ren Jiaming's change. Could it really be because of the first miss of the Gu clan? The first miss of the Gu residence was acquainted with the young master of the Huangfu clan. Suddenly, his mind was filled with a series of conspiracy theories. Big sister. Ren Jiaming's tense and suppressed voice sounded like a beast that had been trapped for a long time. His voice was very hoarse. His fists were tightly clenched as his eyes were filled with disappointment and helplessness. Don't push everything onto eldest Mississippi. Why did I become like this? You know it best, don't you? Jian Ming, even now you still want to speak up for her? Ren Jianying looked extremely angry. Chapter 43-40. She sighed as she walked towards Ren Jiaming and her tone was extremely gentle. Jiaming, stop fooling around. Go home with big sister obediently. If you really like eldest young miss of the Gu residence, then show me your love for her. Prove it to big sister can compromise for you. Seeing Ren Jianying walking over, Ren Jiaming's footsteps subconsciously retreated towards Yiqing Luo's side. Ren Jianying's footsteps halted as her face was filled with helplessness. In everyone's eyes, Ren Jianying was a strange lady who was worried for her good-for-nothing brother and broke her heart for the Ren family. All of them felt heartache for her and felt that it wasn't worth it. While Ren Jiaming was retreating, his eyes were fixed on Ren Jianying. He didn't notice the wooden barrel which had unknowingly rolled to the side of his feet. Bam! His calf was hit by the wooden barrel. Ren Jiaming's body was unstable as he fell heavily onto the ground. This fall was so painful that his face turned pale as he sucked in a cold breath. Jiaming! Ren Jianying cried out in shock as there wasn't any trace of a strong woman's dignity on her face. It was filled with a sister's concern towards her brother. She quickly rushed to Ren Jiaming's side as she squatted down and helped him up. Her worried gaze looked at Ren Jiaming from head to toe. Jiaming, are you hurt from the fall? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Go home with big sister. Go home with big sister will not let anything happen to you. Saying that, she hooked Ren Jiaming's body as she tried to help him up. This movement made Ren Jiaming feel as though his body was about to be torn apart. He waved his hand and pushed Ren Jianying away as he gritted his teeth angrily. I don't need your fake kindness. This push of his didn't push onto Ren Jianying. Instead, it was held by Ren Jianying's hand. She held onto his arm just like that. The gaze which she used to look at Ren Jiaming was filled with solemnity and seriousness. The atmosphere at this moment became heavy. The air seemed to have condensed into frost. The surrounding people also stopped their discussions because of the change in the atmosphere. Just like that, there was a moment of silence. A lady's slightly trembling voice was heard, as though she was suppressing some emotions. "Jiaming, you? Is your body all right?" The woman asked very cautiously. Every single word that came out of her mouth was extremely difficult. Ren Jiaming's body tensed up as he stared at Ren Jianying. However, Ren Jianying acted as if she did not see his gaze. She continued to speak with a trembling voice. "Jiaming, don't tell me that in order for the young miss of the Gu clan to accept you, you turned yourself into an ordinary person? What about your profound strength? What about your profound rank? Why can't I sense any profound chi fluctuations from your body?" Her question sounded as if she was deeply grieved. However, every single word was clearly transmitted into the ears of the surrounding spectators. Instantly there was an uproar. The genius second young master of the Ren family had lost his profound strength? A cultivation genius that was rarely seen in 100 years had actually become a good-for-nothing? Just because he wanted to be together with the young miss of the Gu residence, he had turned himself into a piece of trash. Profound energy. Strength to them was the most important. How could such a powerful talent be wasted like this? If it was them, to have a talent like the second young master of the Ren family, they would rather become monks than to give up on this kind of talent. Chapter 43-41. Just now, when the Zhao and Li family's young masters threw the barrels at second young master Ren had no way to avoid them. They were still wondering just now. Second young master Ren was so strong. Looking at the entire old city and even the heavenly realm, no one should be able to leave such a wretched and severe injury on the body of the second young master of the Ren clan. Wait! Suddenly a voice sounded in the crowd. Second young master Ren is the heir of the Ren family. If he loses his dark force, doesn't it mean that he has lost the right to inherit the Ren family? The four great families will never let a useless person become the family head. Yes. Second young master Ren can't inherit the position of the Ren family head if he loses his dark force. The Ren family has few descendants. Now they only have Miss Ren and a 5-year-old young master left. If second young master Ren loses his right to inherit the family, does that mean the Ren family has to be handed over to a 5-year-old child? Second young master Ren is too impulsive. He doesn't know how to think about his family at all. For a moment, everyone was talking about it. Their tone was full of disapproval for Ren Jiaming. If this kind of thing happened in their family, they would probably vomit blood from anger. Ren Jianying seemed to be frightened and couldn't recover for a long time. She just stared at Ren Jiaming without blinking. She didn't refute the words of the surrounding people. Until the discussion rose to a peak. Only then did Ren Jianying stand up as if she had lost her soul. She stared at Ren Jiaming and said bitterly, "Good? Very good. This is your choice. You used this method to take revenge on the Ren family." She turned her back and raised her head slightly. The side profile of that beautiful face was very exquisite. Ren Jianying seemed to be extremely sad. She didn't even want to look at Ren Jiaming. Clap, clap, clap. Amidst this chaotic atmosphere, a clap rang out. Everyone was instantly attracted by the sound of the applause. They saw the girl in red, who had been standing aside and watching the show for a long time, applauding and walking out. Her steps were very elegant, and the corner of her mouth was curled up with a faint sarcastic smile. That pair of long, narrow and slightly upturned eyes exuded a chilly coldness when they looked at them. Everyone's discussion came to an abrupt halt. Ren Jianying's expression sunk as her beautiful eyes looked towards Yiqing Luo. "Are you satisfied now? My brother became like this because of you. You must be very proud, right?" The girl stopped clapping and crossed her arms. Step by step, he strolled over to her. He walked to Ren Jianying's side. Ren Jianying's body tensed up and she gathered her dark force vigilantly. But unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo didn't even bother to take a look at her as she walked past her and walked towards the crowd. Ren Jianying stood rooted to the ground like a fool. His right hand, which was gathering dark force, hung stiffly in midair. The expression on his face was sometimes twisted and sometimes hideous. "You come out." Yiqing Luo stood in front of the crowd, pointing towards a certain direction. Everyone saw the girl walking towards them. For some reason he felt an indescribable pressure in his heart. It was obvious that the young girl in front of him did not have the slightest fluctuation of profound energy. but when he looked into the other's eyes, he felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't stop the emotions from spreading in his heart. Finally, when the young girl's finger landed on a certain spot, everyone's suspenseful hearts then slowly calmed down. Chapter 43-42. The crowd dispersed. That person who was pointed out wasn't he. The first person who mentioned that Ren Jiaming had lost his inheritance rights? Eldest miss, what do you want to do? That person's voice was trembling. Yiqing Luo hooked her finger. Come over? That person subconsciously took a look at Ren Jianing's direction. Yiqing Luo's lips curled. Why? Do you need me to invite you over personally? That person realized that Ren Jianing had no intention to bother about him. He could only clench his teeth as he walked towards Yiqing Luo. A pause sound was heard. Yiqing Luo raised her hand. The glower flame fan's handle slapped onto that person's face. A deep red mark was imprinted on that person's face. Yiqing Luo took out a handkerchief from somewhere and wiped the fan handle bit by bit, as though she had touched some germs. She wiped it slowly and deliberately. Her long and narrow eyes looked at that person with a smile which didn't look like a smile. That person was slapped till he was in a daze and the fiery pain made him regain his senses. He covered his face fiercely. You? What right do you have to hit me? She specially called him over just to give him a slap? And he even personally sent his face in front of her. Don't think that I don't know the reason why Ren Jiaming fell is because you kicked that wooden barrel to his feet. After Yiqing Luo finished wiping, she threw the handkerchief casually towards that person's face. I said Ren Jiaming is the person I want to pick up now. Touching my person in front of me, I feel that you're provoking me. Yiqing Luo walked slowly as she took another step towards that person. That person was so frightened that he retreated backwards. His eyes were filled with fear towards Yiqing Luo. Eldest Miss Ren should be very clear on how Ren Jiaming's profound energy was crippled. Acting sentimental and righteous here will dirty my eyes. Yiqing Luo's smile didn't diminish as the gaze she shot towards Ren Jianing was filled with ridicule. Ren Jianing's expression was solemn. You've already ruined my brother and now you want to ruin the Ren family? Yiqing Luo shrugged as she looked closely at that person beside her. Following that, she lifted her leg and kicked that person. That man cried out miserably as he was stepped on by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was full of mischievousness as she stepped on that person's body and bent down slightly. Almost all the weight was on that person's body. It's not up to you to decide whether Ren Jiaming is qualified to inherit the Ren family. The future of the Ren family is not something you can control. In any case, it's impossible for Miss Ren to inherit the Ren family. Yiqing Luo's words seemed to be directed at the person beneath her feet. But everyone could tell. Yiqing Luo was saying this for Ren Jianing to hear. It could be said. Everything that Yiqing Luo had done to that person. Actually, they were all mocking Ren Jianing. That slap was no different from slapping Ren Jianing. That foot was no different from stepping on Ren Jianing. Everyone was so shocked by the scene in front of them that they could not close their jaws. None of the people present were fools. Anyone could tell that there was some kind of conspiracy going on in this matter. After all, Ren Jiaming had become useless. The Ren family was without a leader. They definitely couldn't let that 5-year-old child be in charge. In the end, it would still land in the hands of Ren Jianing, who was still in charge. No matter if Ren Jianing was really innocent or the mastermind in this matter. As long as it didn't affect their interests. They were too lazy to think deeply about it. It was impossible to say it out in the open. But Yiqing Luo had said it. Chapter 43-43. How could eldest young miss of the Gu residence determine that the successor of the Ren family could not be Ren Jianing? Based on the current situation of the Ren family, there was only Ren Jianing this choice. Yiqing Luo didn't mind what storm and whirlpool her words had stirred up. She turned her head back and looked at the man who was stepping on her feet as her smile became even nastier. Her brows were filled with a teasing smile. Your master doesn't seem to have any intention to save you. Since that's the case, why don't I start with you first? Saying that, she waved the glower flame fan in her fingertips. That man gave a terrified scream as he covered his face and couldn't stop the miserable cries from coming from his mouth. That fan which Yiqing Luo had slapped on his face earlier. He had used an extremely crafty technique to do so. That scorching pain was even more unbearable than making a few cuts on his face. Between her fingers. That man saw Yiqing Luo and that evil smile was magnified in front of him. Suddenly, a ray of silver light flashed past. He saw the young lady's red feather fan drawing out a sharp dagger. The blade shone with a cold glint. She wanted to kill him? That man instantly felt his breathing stagnated. The miserable cries made the surrounding crowd dig their ears as they looked at that man with a mocking gaze. Following that, they smelled an extremely pungent urine smell in the air. It was that man. Frightened by Yiqing Luo, he urinated on the spot? And when that man was so frightened that he was shivering and his lower body was wet. But there wasn't any pain or death that he had imagined. The moment he opened his eyes. Unknowingly, the young lady was already standing next to the Huangfu family's side. As though she had never come to his side. The gazes of the surrounding people made that person feel extremely ashamed. Yiqing Luo casually wiped her own hands as her long and narrow eyes glanced towards Ren Jianying's direction as her lips curled. You can't even take fright, so useless. Ren Jianying's hands clenched into fists. Apparently, Yiqing Luo was intentionally using that man to scold the locust tree, slapping her face through the wall. And the most important thing was, Yiqing Luo's actions in public was not only to provoke her, but also to slap her face. He had even stripped her naked in front of everyone. She, the eldest daughter of the Ren family, had also become a joke. At this moment, Ren Jianying finally understood why the black-cloaked man told her not to underestimate this woman. This woman was so arrogant that it seemed as though she had countless trump cards up her sleeves. It was as though she was not afraid of anything. Clearly he was just a trash without any profound energy. He clearly didn't even have the ability to protect himself. What right did she have to be so arrogant? Ren Jianying suppressed the anger in her chest. She sucked in a deep breath and calmed herself down. Since when has the first miss of the Gu clan been in charge of the matters of our Ren clan? She raised her head with a cold expression. The future successor of the Ren family has nothing to do with the first miss of the Gu estate. I only have one question for you. My younger brother has turned himself into an ordinary person for you. Are you going to accept him or not? Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes raised slightly. No wonder she was able to control the old city's economic lifeline. At such a young age, she was able to become the mastermind behind the scenes in the Ren family, Ren Jianying. In just a few breaths' time. She then adjusted her emotions. Chapter 43-44. Ren Jianying's plan was very good. If she rejected Ren Jiaming. In everyone's eyes, she despised Ren Jiaming for being a waste and had lost his status as the Ren family's second young master, so she rejected him. Her reputation would be completely ruined under Ren Jianying's conscious leadership. And if she agreed to Ren Jianying's words, Ren Jianying could then express that she would fulfill her brother's true love and let the both of them be together. In the end, it would be a bitter drama. After the Ren family had lost the person who could shoulder the burden, he would naturally become the next head of the Ren family. Yiqing Luo wanted to clap again. Pfft. She smiled lightly as her lips curled as she laughed disapprovingly. Everyone had been waiting for her answer. Everyone's gazes were gathered on her. The young lady tilted her head as she gave a sarcastic smile. When your brother was still the Ren family's second young master, I had already said that I have no interest in him. In that case, you still want to reject him? Ren Jianying asked. Yiqing Luo replied, Isn't my rejection obvious enough? Ren Jianying laughed as she looked coldly at Ren Jianying. See that, this is the woman you want to choose. She has never thought of being together with you. How much longer are you going to be so silly? Ren Jiaming looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze. What she said earlier replayed in his mind over and over again. Obviously, towards eldest young miss of the Gu residence, he had long known that eldest young miss would not like him and would not accept him. But when he heard eldest young miss say this personally, his heart still felt very upset. It was as if something was squeezing his chest. His throat was blocked up badly. Even when Ren Jianying was talking to him, he didn't hear it. Yiqing Luo suddenly smiled, her watery eyes were like flowers blooming in spring, breathtaking beyond compare. But I am a kind-hearted person. Seeing such a pitiful child, I just want to lend a helping hand to help him. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with tears. Since I've picked him up and raised him for a few days, and he has yet to repay me for taking him in, how can I return him to you so easily? Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as her smile suddenly turned more severe. So, if eldest young Miss Ren wants to bring Ren Jianming back, then you'll have to beg me to let him go first. Ren Jianying's expression instantly congealed as she gritted her teeth and stared at Yiqing Luo, her eyes filled with an icy cold intent. She raised her head slightly. Her face was filled with her usual arrogance and conceit. First young lady of the Gu residence, the heaven realm does not belong to your Gu residence. I hope that when we meet again in the future, you can still maintain your current arrogance. Then she looked at Ren Jiaming as if she had made up her mind. She enunciated each word clearly. If this is your final choice, I can tell you very clearly that I can't accept it. So, you are the only heir to the Ren family. I will use my own methods to make you return to the Ren family willingly. Ren Jiaming's pupils constricted and he clenched his fists tightly. Whatever you want to do, just come at me. No one understood what Ren Jiaming meant. How could Ren Jiaming not understand? She was merely finding an excuse to deal with him openly. Ren Jiaming's gaze swept past Huang Fusheng and glanced at Yiqing Luo before turning around to leave. She had just walked out of the crowd. Yiqing Luo suddenly called out to her, "Eldest young Miss Ren." Chapter 43-45. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a light smile. Ren Jiaming? Is the only successor of the Ren family, remember what you said? Ren Jiaming's tightly clenched fingers tightened a little. Her fingertips started to turn pale. She didn't turn back as she strode away. Yiqing Luo didn't even glance at the direction where Ren Jiaming left. She walked straight towards Ren Jiaming. Her black and white eyes stared unblinkingly at the man's murky, emotionless eyes. Have you suffered a blow, unable to recover? She opened her mouth, her voice was slightly cold. Ren Jiaming's eyelashes fluttered as he slowly shifted his focus onto Yiqing Luo. You've already fallen out with her publicly. Do you want to climb back up and take back everything that belongs to you, or do as she wishes, unable to recover from this setback, becoming a waste, living like this? Speaking of this, Yiqing Luo suddenly paused. Her slender fingers pressed her chin as she shook her head. But even if you want to live like this, I'm afraid. Before you die, you won't be able to find peace. The emotions in Ren Jiaming's pupils were like a whirlpool churning. Looking at the man's face, that extremely complicated expression. Yiqing Luo didn't force him any further. Everything needed a period of transition. Especially kinship. Yiqing Luo understood Ren Jiaming's feelings very well. No matter how much he knew that Ren Jiaming had done many heinous things, or how many major incidents she had planned behind the scenes. But he still treated Ren Jiaming as his own elder sister. And during this period of time when he was pretending to be a silk pants, Ren Jiaming was indeed an irreplaceable elder sister. He even thought that as long as he had no interest in the Ren family's successor position, Ren Jiaming would always be his elder sister. Even after knowing that Ren Jiaming wanted to annihilate the entire heaven realm, his only thought was to stop Ren Jiaming from making mistakes. But in the end, Ren Jiaming was still doing it for the Ren family's patriarch position, for the so-called power. She chose to give up on him. No matter who it was, no one would be able to accept this fact. Yiqing Luo lifted her leg and gave his calf a light kick. Enough, don't look so bitter. Go and bandage the injuries on your body, it's so ugly. Ren Jiaming was still frozen on the spot, looking at her in a daze. However, his eyes were a little empty. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to give the second kick, Gu Zixi walked over and held onto Yiqing Luo's arm. Let the Huangfu family send him to 100 Medicine House to bandage him up first. Yiqing Luo retracted her leg. Just don't let him die. Gu Zixi poked her and said, I knew you were tough on the outside but soft on the inside. Don't worry, these people were personally picked by Ah Sheng. They are absolutely trustworthy. I naturally trust Ah Sheng's people, but I don't trust the Ren family. Yiqing Luo glanced at Ren Jiaming. You just exposed her ambition in front of everyone. If she wants to protect her reputation, she definitely won't do anything to him at this time. Gu Zixi called a few people over to support Ren Jiaming. This was the perfect time to strike. Wouldn't that prove that Ren Jiaming's bragging just now was just an act? Ren Jiaming. Yiqing Luo looked at the man whose eyes were still swirling with whirlpools, as she pointed to the restaurant which was not too far away. Settle yourself properly, then look for us at the restaurant. Saying that, she didn't care if Ren Jiaming heard what she said. She lifted her leg and directly walked past Ren Jiaming, towards that restaurant. Chapter 43-46. The trio asked for a secluded private room in the restaurant and instructed the shopkeeper to bring Ren Jiaming to the private room later. Finally they could reminisce about the past in peace. Huang Fusheng asked impatiently, Ah Luo, why did you come to the heaven realm? It had only been a month since they were separated. Yiqing Luo actually came to the heaven realm from the earth realm? They knew that Yiqing Luo was a genius and her advancement speed was described as swoosh swoosh swoosh. But wasn't this leap a little too big? Wait a minute. The outside world is spreading rumors that eldest young miss of the Gu residence is a waste without any profound energy. Then you? Gu Zishi suddenly thought of something as her eyes widened as she sized Yi Qing Luo up from head to toe. What method did you use to conceal your profound energy? Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders. Stop looking. As for me, I really have no profound energy. What's going on? Huang Fuxing frowned tightly. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. It should be related to that Bone Lord. He sealed the profound energy in my body and I haven't guessed what his motive is. Speaking of Bone Lord. Huang Fusheng's expression turned strange. What's your relationship with Bone Lord? How did you become the eldest miss of the Bone residence? Yi Qing Luo sighed and explained how she came to the Heaven Realm and inexplicably became the Bone Lord's niece, took charge of the Bone residence and became the eldest miss of the Bone residence. Huang Fusheng and Gu Zishi were dumbstruck as they listened with a face full of disbelief. After being shocked for a long time, Huang Fusheng frowned and said, "The time I spent in the Heaven Realm is too short and I have not seen Bone Lord's appearance. But I have heard a lot of rumors about Bone Lord. His identity is very mysterious and his ability is unfathomable. The entire Heaven Realm almost treat him as a legend. Even grandfather isn't sure when Bone Lord existed. No one knows who Bone Lord is and why he is in the Heaven Realm. They only know that even the 4 great heavenly families, even the royal family, don't dare to disrespect the Bone residence." Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips and suddenly recalled what Ren Jiaming said before. She suddenly raised her head. "I want to see old Master Ren. Grandfather will be very happy to know that you're here." Huang Fuxing nodded. "Grandfather has asked me to represent the Huangfu clan in the upcoming honor list. He will arrive at the old city in about 2 days. Wind Cloud ranking list, it was about to begin." This also meant that the war that Ren Jiaming had mentioned before, which was to destroy the Heaven Realm, was about to begin. Previously she was still skeptical about it. Furthermore, there was nothing in the Heaven Realm that was worth her nostalgia. But, after seeing Ren Jiaming today, she could be sure that what Ren Jiaming said was absolutely true. That was because no matter how Jianning tried to cover it up, she was still tainted with a dark aura after having sex with someone from the Palace of Gloomy Shadows. On the mottled ambiguous marks on Ren Jianning's body, there was a lingering dark aura. Furthermore, Huang Fusheng had now stabilized his position in the Heaven Realm. She couldn't let the Dark Palace destroy the Heaven Realm just like that. In the Heaven Realm, her words did not have much authority. She had to discuss this matter with old Master Ren. "Oh yes. Aluo, why are you the only one who came to the Heaven Realm? Didn't the Overlord follow?" Gu Zishi looked at Yi Qing Luo's expression and asked cautiously. She seemed to be worried that her words would make Yi Qing Luo unhappy. Chapter 43-47. At the mention of Dmo Xian, Yi Qing Luo's expression revealed a sense of loss. Her eyes were filled with longing for the man. They had been separated for such a long time. She really missed him. She was kidnapped by the barbaric Blood-Bone King to the Heaven Realm. Would he know that she was in the Heaven Realm? In fact, she had been acting in a high-profile manner in the Earth Realm recently, so that everyone in the Heaven Realm would think of her whenever the Gu residence was mentioned. It was to spread to the ears of Dmo Xian's spies in the Heaven Realm. She was waiting for Dmo Xian to find her. "The Overlord is so powerful, he will definitely find you soon." Gu Zishi saw Yi Qing Luo's depressed mood and quickly comforted her. She sat by Yi Qing Luo's side and stretched out her hand to hold her hand. "The Overlord's forces are spread across every corner of the Upper Realm. In a few days' time, it will be the profile list, and as the eldest young miss of the Gu residence, you will definitely have to make an appearance. By then." Yi Qing Luo's gaze fell onto the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip. She curled her lips and caressed the profound phoenix ring. "I believe him." "Oh yes, Luo." Huang Fuxing changed the topic. "What's going on between you and that Ren family's second young master?" Gu Zishi replied, "Yes, the entire old city is talking about you and second young master Ren. I even heard that second young master Ren announced that you are his fiancé." After all, the main characters of this rumor were the future successor of one of the 4 great heavenly families and the eldest miss of the Gu residence. Based on these two people's identities, it would set off a storm in the Heaven Realm. Naturally, it would attract the attention of all the major forces. If the two families were really connected by marriage, Ren family and Gu residence's power would definitely be above the other 3 heavenly families and even the royal family. Therefore, Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi, who came to the old city to represent the Huangfu family, had naturally heard of the rumors and speculations about Ren Jiaming and Gu Residence's eldest Mississippi. That fellow Ren Jiaming is just using me as a shield. Yi Qing Luo pouted her lips. Didn't Gong Xiazhu announce that Ren Jiaming is her husband? Shield. A gossipy smile appeared in Gu Zishi's eyes. You mean, second young master Ren doesn't like you at all? Did he purposely use your name to sever ties with his elder sister? At this point, Gu Zishi's lips curled into a wicked smile. Don't tell me that first young miss of the Ren family wants to engage in forbidden, incestuous relations with the Ren family's second young master. Stop. Yi Qing Luo gave Gu Zishi's head a slap. Stop guessing blindly. As for the exact reason, I'll tell you all when old Master Huangfu is here. Gu Zishi was in pain. She covered her head and leaned into Huangfu Sheng's arms. You're still so mysterious and you're still so ruthless to me. Then he looked up at Huangfu Sheng and complained, Ah Sheng, Ah Luo hit me. Huangfu Sheng couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Gu Zishi with doting eyes and raised his hand to gently press her forehead. His voice was very gentle. It won't hurt if I rub it. When I have the chance, I will help you take revenge. Yi Qing Luo, if a gaze could kill someone. She wanted to use her gaze to kill the both of them. She grabbed the wooden chopsticks and started to face the dishes on the table. She obviously knew how much she missed Ah Xian, but still purposely showed off their affection to provoke her. Chapter 43-48. Was it a big deal to show off their love? Wait until Ah Xian found her. She wanted to let the two of them have a taste of different kinds of dog food. On the top of the towering mountain peak, the crescent moon that was like a curved hook hung in the sky. The clear and bright light seemed to coat everything in the surroundings with a layer of coldness. Cold mist lingered around the mountain peak, spreading in the air of China. The howling wind kept blowing everything around it. A tall and slender figure stood on the edge of the mountain peak. The strong wind blew on his body. That figure was swaying as if he would fall off the cliff at any time. Behind him, a fairy-like woman in a long white dress slowly walked over. Are you still worried? The man heard the figure but did not turn back. The strong wind blew his long hair. His robe was also fluttering in the wind. That peerless face was filled with a chilling coldness. The boy from the D family. The woman was used to the man's attitude, sighed softly. That girl is more tenacious than anyone else. She will be fine. She loves you as deeply as you love her. So smart, so strong, so in love with you, she will never let anything happen to her before you find her. Perhaps it was the mention of the word she. The man finally had some reaction. His eyelashes moved slightly, and the expression on his face became even colder. The woman walked to his side, raised her head, and looked at the gloomy man. The forces of the imperial palace in various places are searching for her trace. I think there will be news soon. Baisu, if you have something to say, just say it. The man interrupted her with a cold expression. The woman curled her lips with a bored face. Really boring, nothing can be hidden from you, can't I just simply comfort you? Anyway, we have known each other for a long time, friends. These two people were Baisu and Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian glanced at her indifferently. I am not in the mood to joke with you. Baisu put her palms together and said, Fine, fine, fine. I know you're worried about that girl and in a bad mood. I'll just say it. She raised her head and stared fixedly at Dmo Xian. Bai Mei escaped from the Heavenly Law dungeon and the annals have been tracking her whereabouts. You know about this, right? Dmo Xian's eyes sunk slightly as he pulled his thin lips into a smile which didn't look like a smile. In the Earth realm, bringing someone to impersonate this lord and plotted to frame little Luo, then leading little Luo, to the Linglong Palace. If it wasn't for her, little Luo, would not have been targeted by the barbaric Bloodbone King. His little Luo heir would never leave his side. He knew that the barbaric Bloodbone King would not harm Lil Luo heir for the time being. However, he could not help but worry. Hearing this, Baisu looked away guiltily. She coughed softly. You should also know that she's running around outside. It's easy for her to cause you more trouble. So, go and capture her and bring her back to the Heavenly Dao prison. Ha! Dmo Xian snorted lightly as his thin lips curled into an arc with some ridicule. Do you think that by placing her in the Heavenly Law dungeon she'll be safe? A trace of embarrassment flashed past Baisu's beautiful eyes. The plan in her heart had been guessed by Dmo Xian. Talking to this kind of person. He really didn't leave her any space to speak or retreat. If you let this lord capture her, this lord may not be able to control himself and kill her. Dmo Xian sneered. Chapter 43-49. Mobile reading. Mobile reading Chapter 43-41 I only want little Luo, to be safe and sound. She sighed and suddenly raised her head. She looked at the expression on the man's face, which seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. She was a little helpless and dejected. There's nothing I can do. Bai Mei doesn't even want to acknowledge me as her sister anymore. She's been holding a grudge against me all this time. Only you can attract her attention. Baisu's expression became more solemn. DMO Xian, I've never asked you for anything. This time I'm begging you, okay? I just want my only sister to be able to live. DMO Xian's eyes flickered and fell on Baisu. Looking at Baisu's serious face, the coldness on his body dissipated a little. I only want my little Luo to be safe and sound. This is the last time. If Bai Mei returns to the Heavenly Law Dungeon, I promise you that I will not give her another chance. Baisu's eyes were filled with sincerity. DMO Xian remained silent. Baisu seized the opportunity to say, I received news that Bai Mei is now in the Heaven Realm. Aren't you also investigating the person behind the Palace of Darkness? Bai Mei has already joined the Palace of Darkness. Her being in the Heaven Realm means that the power of the Palace of Darkness has already infiltrated the Heaven Realm. As she spoke, she paid attention to DMO Xian's expression. Seeing that he did not have any other reaction, she continued, in the Heaven Realm, the honor list is about to begin. I'm worried that Bai Mei and the Palace of Gloomy Darkness will tamper with the honor list. Seeing that DMO Xian was still expressionless, he did not intend to bother with her. Baisu decided to make a big move. You've almost turned the whole earthly realm upside down, but you still couldn't find the girl's whereabouts. Maybe she has been taken to the Heaven Realm by the barbaric Blood-Bone King? Go to the Heaven Realm and look for that girl's whereabouts. Also help me bring Bai Mei back. How about it? The man finally turned his head slightly, his cold and thin eyes lightly fell on her body. Baisu was delighted. Indeed, only Yiqing Luo's name could make the Overlord react. Heaven Realm Restaurant. As Yiqing Luo was eating, she was chatting with Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi. At the same time, he also understood what was going on in the Huangfu family. It turned out that when the two of them first arrived at the Huangfu clan, not only were they not welcomed, but the entire Huangfu clan even requested the old man to send them away. Furthermore, when they were verifying whether he was a descendant of the Huangfu clan, they even tampered with him and forced him to admit that he was a fake. Fortunately, old Master Huangfu absolutely believed in Huangfu Sheng's identity. He single-handedly stopped the entire Huangfu clan from opposing him and forced them to accept his existence. Later, Huangfu Sheng found out the reason why everyone in the Huangfu family disliked her. That was because the young master and young mistress of the Huangfu clan had spread the news of his ambition everywhere and portrayed him as a scheming person who would deceive the old master. Naturally, everyone objected to his existence. Old Master Huangfu was willing to go this far for him. How could he disappoint the old man? Hence, the fourth miss of Huangfu clan Huang Fengyan framed him once. He fought back with his own ability and stood up when Huang Fengyan almost destroyed a branch of the Huangfu clan because of her framing. He risked his life to save the branch. From then on, everyone changed their opinion of him. There will be an update today, see you tonight. Small theater, the Overlord, where's the scene where the Overlord is going to appear? I've even become the background? ZOMO, if there are no tickets there will be no Overlord. The Overlord, sneer, do you want to die? ZOMO, I only want tickets. Kill me if you have the ability. Kill me and you will be separated from your little Luo, forever. The Overlord. What a ruthless man. ZOMO, why don't you use a honey trap and ask for tickets? If there are enough tickets, you can exchange them for your appearance ticket. The Overlord takes out his weapon. Hurry. Hurry. Throw. Tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 4350. Mobile reading. And with his and Gu Zishi's hard work, in the short span of a month, the two of them, from being opposed by everyone to now, they were able to have a place in the Huangfu family and even the Heaven Realm. Almost the entire Heaven Realm knew about it. The Huangfu clan had one more person, Huangfu Sheng, who old Master Huangfu doted on the most and was extremely powerful. This time, Huangfu Sheng had brought Gu Zishi along as the representative of the Huangfu family to participate in the honor list. He was laying the foundation for his future. As long as the Huangfu clan was able to obtain a dazzling result on the reputation list, Huangfu Sheng's position in the Huangfu clan was basically unshakable. Very good, well done. Yiqing Luo put down her chopsticks and looked at Huangfu Sheng with approval. In the future in the heaven realm, I will rely on you to cover me. As he was speaking, a burst of hurried footsteps came from outside the room. Immediately after, a hurried knock sounded on the door. Come in. Huang Fusheng stopped smiling and said indifferently. The door was opened and the waiter hurriedly walked in while panting heavily. Oh no. Young Master Huang Fu Missy, second young Master Ren? Second young Master Ren is blocked at the door. Ren jamming? Yiqing Luo's expression turned cold as she suddenly stood up. What's the matter? Just now. Second young Master Ren came to look for first young mistress. I followed first young mistress instructions and brought second young Master Ren here, but unexpectedly, we met Princess Xiazhu. Gong Xiazhu? It was her again. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk. Go out and take a look. First floor lobby. At this moment it was already a mess. The dining table and chairs fell to the ground. There were also various kinds of oil and vegetable soup on the ground. All kinds of bowls and chopsticks were shattered on the ground. Yiqing Luo's gaze swept the surroundings and finally fell onto the entrance of the restaurant. Ren Jiaming squatted on the ground in embarrassment. The white cloth wrapped around his body was also stained with blood because of the several pushes. Around him, there were 6 women dressed in servant attire. Standing in front of Ren Jiaming and looking down at him was Gong Xiazhu, who was dressed in luxurious clothes and had exquisite makeup. He could tell. Just now there had been quite a big dispute here. Many people gathered around the restaurant to watch the show. They pointed at him and their words were filled with laughter and ridicule. However, Gong Xiazhu did not care about the opinions of the people around her. In her eyes, Ren Jiaming was the only person she could see. Brother Ming, follow me back to the palace. I'm the only one who can restore you to your previous status and identity. Only I can pull you back to your glorious days. Gong Xiazhu looked straight at Ren Jiaming and said word by word, as long as you are with me, no one will dare to touch you. Even if it's the Ren family, I will definitely protect you. The passionate confession was still unable to warm the man's heart. Ren Jiaming's face was ashen. He wanted to stand up. But the other maids immediately took a step forward. He forcefully pressed him to the ground. Gong Xiazhu slowly squatted down by Ren Jiaming's side as her eyes gazed at Ren Jiaming's face in a daze. Brother Ming, for such a long time, don't tell me you're still not clear about my feelings towards you? She stretched out her hand, wanting to caress Ren Jiaming's face. I don't mind that you're unable to cultivate. I will use my actions to prove that I like you. Absolutely not because of your cultivation innate talent or your family background. What I like is you as a person. Her fingers were just about to caress the man's face. But the man immediately turned his head, avoiding her outstretched hand. This book came from Chapter 4351. Mobile reading. Gong Xiazhu's hand froze in midair. Her face darkened slightly, but she was still patient and continued, Brother Ming, everything I said came from the bottom of my heart. Follow me back to the palace, okay? As she spoke, her hand slid down to his waist. Then she slowly placed her hand on his palm. Princess Xiazhu, please behave yourself. Ren Jiaming's body stiffened and he flung Gong Xiazhu's hand away. As soon as he moved, the 6 maids around him squeezed forward and pressed down on Ren Jiaming's hands, preventing him from moving. Gong Xiazhu held Ren Jiaming's face as she wished. Her lips curled into a sweet smile. Brother Ming, only I love you the most. Are you still hoping that the first young mistress of the Gu clan will save you? No, she won't save you. She slowly leaned her head against his chest. No matter how Ren Jiaming struggled, the 6 maids were like boulders, not moving at all. Gong Xiazhu put her head on his chest and said with a smile on her face, when you were the second young master of the Ren clan, she looked down on you. Now that you have become a good-for-nothing, she looks down on you even more. Gong Xiazhu. Ren Jiaming's body tensed up, and his face was filled with disgust towards Gong Xiazhu. It's none of your business whether the first miss likes me or not. I don't like you. I don't like a lunatic like you. Yeah, I'm crazy. Gong Xiazhu chuckled softly, and a treacherous cold light flickered between her brows. You have already become like this, but I still like you. I like you hopelessly. I must be crazy to like you so much. As she spoke, her laughter became more and more frantic. In the end it turned into laughter. She lay on Ren Jiaming's chest and raised her head, her eyes intertwined with his. She smiled brilliantly. Brother Ming, the current you can't escape. Princess Xiazhu. Ren Jiaming's body stiffened. He stared at Gong Xiazhu's crazed expression and softened his tone. A forceful melon won't be sweet. Princess Xiazhu, you deserve someone better. To me you're the best person. Gong Xiaoju's eyes were filled with unconcealable affection for him. Feelings can be cultivated. I like you so much. One day you will be touched by me. She seemed to have thought of something and laughed softly. She lifted Ren Jiaming's chin with one hand. At the same time she slowly moved her lips towards Ren Jiaming's. I've already prepared a courtyard for you in the princess mansion. You'll definitely like it there, and you'll definitely like me. His lips slowly approached. The infatuation in his eyes was even more obvious. Ren Jiaming wanted to avoid it. However, the servant behind him held him down tightly and forced him to accept Gong Xiaoju's kiss. The scent of a woman was getting closer and closer. Ren Jiaming's body tensed up, and the arc of his struggle became even more pronounced. Just as their lips were about to touch. Suddenly a gust of wind blew past. Gong Xiaoju felt a cold light flash before her eyes. There was no time to evade. He suddenly felt a sharp pain on his cheek. Her body was also thrown to the ground by the hurricane. Thud. A red feather fan that looked like a raging flame fell beside Ren Jiaming's feet. Gong Xiaoju recognized that feather fan at first glance. Her expression immediately became ferocious and twisted. The eldest miss of the Gu mansion. Oh, the dignified princess is actually kidnapping a man and forcing a woman to be a prostitute. The girl's frivolous voice revealed a bit of laziness. This book came from Chapter 4352. Cell phone reading. After hearing this voice, Ren Jiaming's body suddenly trembled slightly. Raising his eyes again, his pupils reflected the second floor. That alluring young lady with her pink lips curled into a teasing arc. His face instantly felt as though it was scorched by fire. His heart suddenly tightened, as though something was strangling him fiercely. It was extremely difficult to breathe. Not willing. His unbearable side was revealed in front of Yi Qing Luo. Not willing when he was in such a sorry state, it was Yi Qing Luo who stopped him. Does Princess Xiaoju lack a man's love? Yi Qing Luo lifted her red dress as she flipped over the railing on the second floor. It shocked Huang Fusheng and Gu Zixi who were behind her as they broke out in cold sweat. Luo had no profound energy now. Jumping down from the second floor she would definitely be injured. Gu Zixi hurriedly flew downwards trying to catch Yi Qing Luo. But she saw the young lady's nimble figure as she landed steadily on the ground, breathing without the slightest bit of panting. Yi Qing Luo curled her lips at Gu Zixi, indicating that she was fine. What a joke. Even if she lost her profound energy, her own power was still there. Just the height of a two-story building. She was more than enough. Eldest young miss of the Gu residence. Gong Xiaoju stared fiercely at this lady who had disturbed her, as the accumulated anger from the new and old hatred surged in her chest. She stood up and blocked in front of Ren Jiaming. This princess has always admired Brother Ming. He is my future prince consort. Prince consort? Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose as she gave a smile which didn't look like a smile. I didn't see him agreeing to be your prince consort. Gong Xiaoju clenched her fists tightly. He will agree. So, you're forcing a good woman to be a prostitute. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as her long and narrow eyes curved. How much does Princess Xiaoju lack love, and no one wants her, that's why she would forcefully snatch a man to be her prince consort on the streets. She touched her chin as she smiled and asked softly, could it be? Princess Xiaoju actually has some hidden illness? Eldest young miss. Gong Xiaoju gritted her teeth and glared at her. Her tone was full of threat. No matter what you say, I must take Brother Ming away. Since you've already rejected Brother Ming and aren't willing to accept him, why don't you return him to me? Still? Yi Qing Luo was all smiles as she raised up a finger and shook it. Princess Xiaoju has used the wrong words. Ren Jiaming had never belonged to you, so how could you say he is still yours? Gong Xiaoju's face turned red. Without saying a word, he bent down and helped Ren Jiaming up. Let's go. Princess Xiaoju, did I say that you can leave? Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms around her chest as she strolled around in a mischievous manner. She walked to the entrance of the restaurant and blocked their path. Gong Xiaoju opened her arms and stood in front of Ren Jiaming. What right do you have to stop me? Yi Qing Luo shot a glance at the man behind her. He still owes me a few favors. How is it possible for him to leave now? Whatever he owes, this princess will return it. Gong Xiaoju replied without any hesitation. Whatever you want, this princess can give it to you. Deske. So touching. Yi Qing Luo's smile widened. Unfortunately, you don't have anything that I want, so. You can only return him to me. She intentionally emphasized the word return, as though she was ridiculing something. Gong Xiaoju's face turned green and then white, as her venomous gaze seemed as though it was dipped in poison. Her facial features were already out of control, as it turned sinister and terrifying. This book came from Chapter 4353. In 1 second there was no pop-up window for free reading. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Yiqing Luo's tone suddenly turned cold. That pair of narrow smiling eyes were filled with a biting cold intent. A pair of long and narrow eyes with a smile at this moment was also bitingly cold. Gong Xiaoju was so shocked that her heart jumped. This princess will absolutely not let go. Gong Xiaoju was so shocked that her heart skipped a beat. I will never let him go. Her eyes were burning and filled with insanity. This violent knock was extremely strong, causing Yiqing Luo's arm to feel sore and numb. This ferocious collision was extremely powerful, causing Yiqing Luo's arm to feel a little sore and numb. He struggled, trying to break free from the restraints of the mates. But the duo's strength was so great that he couldn't break free at all. His eyes were scarlet red and his eyes were filled with anger. Gong Xiaoju, whatever you want to do, whatever you've discussed with my eldest sister, come at me. Whatever you want to do, whatever you've discussed with my eldest sister, come at me. You can't even protect yourself and you're still trying to show off. Yiqing Luo glanced at him. So? Second young Master Ren is planning to go to the princess residence to be the prince consort? I'm worried about you. Ren Jiaming pursed his lips tightly as his tone was tense. Yiqing Luo lifted her eyelids lazily as her brows were filled with laziness. Just worry about yourself. Ren Jiaming's heart felt as though it had been shot by a bullet as it was extremely painful. He had never felt that there was anything good about his innate talent or cultivation genius. He had never felt that his profound grade was high or that his ability was strong. But at this very moment, he hated himself for being unable to protect Yiqing Luo. Ren Jiaming clenched his fists tightly as his gaze turned towards Gong Xiaoju. Gong Xiaoju, don't implicate innocent people because of your ridiculous possessiveness. The scene of the two conversing as though nothing had happened. Then she heard Ren Jiaming's stern berating. Gong Xiaoju seemed to have been agitated as she slowly and stiffly raised her head towards Ren Jiaming. His slightly ferocious face was filled with ruthlessness. You're protecting her? Brother Ming, you're protecting her? She suddenly laughed and suddenly stretched out both hands to grab Yiqing Luo's arm. Brother Ming is mine, he can only be mine. Don't think that we don't dare to touch you, Gu residents. After grabbing Yiqing Luo's arm, a burst of profound waves surged out from Gong Xiaoju's palm. The rampaging profound waves coiled around Yiqing Luo's arm. Gong Xiaoju's eyes were filled with madness. I'd like to see if a good-for-nothing can still seduce Brother Ming after losing an arm. Each wave of profound light was stronger than the last. As though it was about to explode in Yiqing Luo's hands. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Could it be that Princess Xiaoju had gone mad from love? She wanted to use profound energy to destroy eldest Mrs. Hand? This would incite a conflict between the Gu residents and the imperial family. For the sake of the second young master of the Ren clan, Princess Xiaoju was willing to disregard the reputation of the royal family? However, everyone was shocked. However, no one took the initiative to mention this matter. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. The two dragon heads of the Gu residents and the imperial family clashed. They would be the only ones who would benefit. However, the person involved in this matter looked very relaxed at this moment, and there was not a hint of panic on his face. The corners of her mouth were still curled up in a cold arc that seemed to be a smile yet not a smile. As though she was ridiculing Gong Xiaoju's stupidity. Under that pair of enchanting eyes' gaze, Gong Xiaoju actually felt an enormous pressure, pressuring her so much that she couldn't breathe. That slut had already lost her profound energy. She must be intentionally pretending to be calm. She couldn't escape from her attack. Gong Xiaoju kept on placating herself in her heart. The profound waves on the hands which were clasped on Yiqing Luo's wrist became even more intense. Chapter 4354. In a second there was no pop-up window for free reading. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Suddenly, a deafening explosion was heard. Suddenly, a deafening explosion was heard. The air vibrated as the profound wave was like a ripple as it rippled in the surroundings. Gong Xiaoju's body was violently sent flying. Even the surrounding maids were jolted away by an invisible airwave. Whoever dares to touch Luo I Huang Fusheng will absolutely not let them off. Huang Fusheng's sleeves moved slightly as the profound wave was emitted from his entire body. That pair of dark golden eyes were sparkling with a strange radiance. As he was saying that, he walked towards Yiqing Luo. Gong Xiaoju finally managed to stand up with the help of the maids. Hearing Huang Fusheng's words, her expression turned chilly. "Young Master Huangfu, what do you mean by this? Taking action against this princess? Is the Huangfu family trying to go against the royal family?" Huang Fusheng straightened his back as his expression was dignified and solemn. "I'm merely seeing injustice on the road." He paused slightly and continued, "Princess Xiaoju snatched someone on the streets and the person was a man. Based on what Princess Xiaoju said, my helping her is representing the Huangfu family's attitude. The Princess Xiaoju's action of snatching a man on the streets is representing the royal family's attitude, right?" Gong Xiaoju's face turned pale as her fingers clenched tightly. "He is my prince's son-in-law. This princess is looking for a son-in-law to return to the palace. It has nothing to do with you. So the royal princess has already fallen to the extent where she needs to randomly pull a man on the streets and acknowledge him as her son-in-law." Huang Fusheng sneered, "This kind of strange news, looks like I have to enter the palace and ask the emperor personally if this kind of action is permitted by him." Gong Xiaoju's expression sunk. "You." She opened her mouth but had no way to refute. Looking at Huang Fusheng's ridiculing expression, and looking at Yiqing Luo's face, the cold arc which seemed like a smile yet not a smile. Her pupils contracted as the glint became extremely sinister. "Young Master Huangfu's stance is indicating your own attitude, right?" Huang Fusheng looked at her indifferently. "What does Princess Xiaoju mean? You've come to the ancient city to represent the Huangfu clan. Are you certain that the Huangfu clan will allow you to offend the royal family for the young lady of the Gu clan?" She laughed coldly. "Everyone in the old city knows that Bone Lord has never officially acknowledged her existence. From the beginning to the end, it was only the housekeeper of the Bone residence, Gu Yun, who said that she was the first young lady of the Gu residence. No one knows the truth." At this point, Gong Xiaoju seemed to finally have some confidence. She raised her chin and said, "Are you going to take such a big risk to go against me?" Huang Fusheng was about to speak. Yiqing Luo pulled his arm. "There's someone behind her." Just now, when Gong Xiaoju was flustered and exasperated, she said, "Do you think we don't dare to touch you?" He said we, not I. In addition, Gong Xiaoju was obviously very confident now. He had been forcing Huang Fusheng to admit that he was representing the Huangfu family to support Yiqing Luo and go against the royal family. Yiqing Luo could roughly guess the cause and effect. Huang Fusheng glanced sideways as he smiled lightly at the hand which was placed on his arm. His thin lips curled up as he gave a gentle smile. "I know, but now that I have the ability to help you, I will definitely help you." He held Gu Zixi hand tightly as the both of them smiled at each other. "Zixi and I will stand on your side no matter how steep the road ahead is." She could hear the sincerity in Huang Fusheng's tone. Yiqing Luo's eyes softened. "You guys. If you're not afraid of trouble, then I won't stop you." Chapter 43-55. Come and question. Huang Fusheng also smiled. "Don't underestimate my efforts in the heaven realm this month." After he finished speaking, he turned to look at Gong Xiaoju and said, "Princess Xiaoju I Huang Fusheng will definitely interfere in today's matter regardless of personal reasons." Gong Xiaoju's face twisted. "Young Master Huangfu is really unyielding. I want to see how you're going to interfere in my matters." She took a step back. Then, two figures descended from the sky and stood in front of Gong Xiaoju. "Pei Sheng, what right do you have to represent the Huangfu family and clash with the royal family?" A man dressed in brocade clothes questioned. "Don't think that you can joke around with the Huangfu family's reputation just because you are loved by Grandpa." Beside him stood a beautiful and exquisite woman. She sneered and added, "People from the lower realms will always be from the lower realms. You don't even know how to consider the big picture. I don't know why Grandpa asked you to return to the Huangfu family." After a pause, the woman continued with a disdainful look. "I told you long ago that it was a wrong decision to let you represent the Huangfu family. The ranking hasn't even started and you've already made such a big mess. Let's see how you explain to Grandpa when he comes." Its eldest young Master Huangfu and fourth Miss Huangfu. They came to the old city too? From what they said, it seems like they are very dissatisfied with the new young master of the Huangfu family. Haven't you heard? That young master Huangfu is the cousin young master that old master Huangfu brought back from the Earth Realm. Earth Realm? Why would the young master of the Huangfu family be in a place like the Earth Realm? Why do you care so much about the big family's matters? We're going to have a good show to watch. Everyone's attention was attracted by the appearance of the two famous young master and young miss of the Huangfu family. They couldn't help but discuss the gossip in front of them. The discussions around him didn't affect Huangfu Xing at all. His expression didn't change at all. His gaze was calm as it landed on the two people in front of him. He scoffed. Didn't Grandpa ask you two to reflect on your mistakes in the courtyard? Why did you sneak out? Aren't you afraid that Grandfather will blame you? These two people were the eldest young master of the Huangfu clan, Huangfu Dongyu, and the fourth young miss, Huangfu Fengyan. Both of their faces stiffened. Huangfu Fengyan's body stiffened, but she sneered and looked at Huangfu Xing coldly. Whether Grandfather will blame us is none of your business. Oh. Huangfu Xing let out a smile. Then I won't trouble you two with what I'm doing now. It's none of your business. Huangfu Fengyan sneered as she shot a glance towards Yiqing Luo's direction, as her eyes were filled with an unconcealable chilliness. What you're doing now concerns the entire Huangfu family. Huangfu Dongyu slowly walked forward with a dignified gaze. Pei Xing apologized to Princess Jianghu immediately. Also, guarantee that you will no longer interfere with anything related to the Gu residence. In your dreams. Huangfu Xing spat out two words without hesitation. Since you want to put the Huangfu clan in an unjust position, don't blame me for doing what I have to in order to protect the Huangfu clan. Huangfu Dongyu seemed to have predicted Huangfu Sheng's reply as he waved his hand. Instantly, numerous white-dressed Huangfu secret guards rushed in from outside the crowd. So shocked that everyone in the restaurant ran out of the restaurant as they stuck to the entrance of the restaurant to watch. Huangfu Xing took a step back. 10 over Huangfu secret guards who were also dressed in white stood in front of him. End of this chapter. Chapter 4356. Remember in 1 second. Love still, small, say section net. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. There were more than 30 people on the other side. On Huangfu Sheng's side, there were only a dozen people. Moreover, Huangfu Dongyu was obviously on the same side as Gong Xiazhu. If they really fought, Huangfu Sheng and the Gu residents had no chance of victory at all. Huangfu Sheng's back was still ramrod straight. He placed his hands behind his back and looked expressionlessly at the dark team guards in front of him. Don't forget, it was Grandfather who asked me to represent the Huangfu family to handle all matters related to the ranking list. Grandfather was deceived by you. Huangfu Fengyan snorted coldly, her eyes filled with disdain. Huangfu Dongyu seemed to have thought of something as the corner of his mouth raised into a mocking sneer. Pei Xing, let me tell you, the current patriarch of the Huangfu clan is my father. Huangfu Xing's face froze. He could not refute this statement. After all, Huangfu Jintian had already given all the authority to his son. Huangfu Jintian had brought him and Gu Zishi back to the Huangfu clan and made him the representative of the Huangfu clan to participate in the honor list this time. The Huangfu clan had already given Huangfu Jintian the most respect. If Huangfu Jintian still insisted on interfering, it would be too much. It would only cause the current patriarch Huangfu Dongyu's father to misunderstand. In fact, he had heard such rumors in the Huangfu clan many times. Amidst this chaotic and solemn atmosphere, young Master Huangfu is right. The current patriarch of the Huangfu family is young Master Huangfu's father. The girl's voice sounded leisurely and carelessly. He put a hand on Huangfu Sheng's shoulder and pushed him to the side. Huangfu Sheng was stunned for a moment before he moved his body along with the girl's force. Yiqing Luo leisurely walked past Huangfu Sheng and walked to the front. She crossed her arms in front of her chest, a languid expression on her face. That is to say, young Master Huangfu's every word and action represents the current patriarch of the Huangfu family, right? Huangfu Dongyu's heart tightened. The minute Yiqing Luo opened her mouth, it would absolutely be a trap. He stared vigilantly at Yiqing Luo, not intending to reply. But Yiqing Luo wasn't affected at all. Her slender fingers stroked her chin as she continued with a smile. Princess Jianghu now is representing the royal family to forcefully snatch a man on the streets to make him her prince consort. Since young Master Huangfu agrees with Princess Jianghu so much, he must like being robbed. Why don't you become Princess Jianghu's son-in-law? One likes to rob others and the other likes to be robbed. Isn't it perfect? Isn't it a perfect match? Huangfu Dongyu's face darkened. What prince consort? Don't spout nonsense. Who wants to be her husband? Gong Xiazhu, who was standing by the side upon hearing Yiqing Luo's words, his expression turned extremely gloomy. Now that she heard Huangfu Dongyu's rebuttal, her mood instantly exploded. I only have brother Ming in my heart. No one else can be my son-in-law. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them glared at each other. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile. The two of you look rather compatible. Gong Xiazhu knew that Yiqing Luo was intentionally sowing discord, but she couldn't avoid having some enmity towards Huangfu Dongyu. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands as though she was joking as she turned her head to look at Huangfu Sheng. Sheng, when old master arrives, help me ask old master. The dignified Huangfu family and the royal family have the hobby of snatching people on the streets. Who did they learn it from? Chapter 4357. His appearance. 1. Don't keep saying that you're robbing a commoner. Is that all you can say? Gong Xiazhu's face turned red. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her eyes were filled with ridicule. I'm merely stating the truth. Since Princess Xiazhu dares to do it, then you must be mentally prepared to be gossiped about, isn't that so? Gong Xiazhu looked as though she had eaten a fly, and her expression was extremely ugly. The situation was getting out of control. Huangfu Fengyan immediately spoke out, Yiqing Luo, don't intentionally stand there and talk nonsense. Our Huangfu clan doesn't care what Princess Xiazhu did. All I know is that I can't let an outsider like Pei Xing destroy our Huangfu clan. With Huangfu Fengyan's reminder, Huangfu Dongyu finally reacted and continued Huangfu Fengyan's words, that's right. I'm only here to stop Pei Xing. Yiqing Luo burst out laughing. She glanced at Huangfu Dongyu with disdain. You said it yourself. If Sheng helps me, he represents the Huangfu clan against the imperial family. If you help Princess Xiazhu, doesn't that mean the Huangfu clan is helping Princess Xiazhu? In other words, you're helping the wicked. After spitting out the last 4 words, Yiqing Luo leisurely said with a pause after every word, as a person you cannot have such double standards. Huangfu Dongyu subconsciously looked at Huangfu Fengyan. Both brother and sister's expressions became extremely ugly. Huangfu Fengyan pursed her lips tightly. She was very clear that it was impossible to reason with Yiqing Luo. Her eyes turned cold and her expression turned serious. Big brother and I will only do things that are beneficial to the Huangfu family. As for the other consequences, I won't care about it for now. She threw a glance at Huangfu Dongyu. Huangfu Dongyu understood and ordered, stop Pei Xing from using the Huangfu clan's resources. Yes. More than 30 Huangfu secret guards replied in unison. Then he charged at Huangfu Sheng. The dozen people that Huangfu Sheng brought with him were all people that he had trained in the past month. Both sides fought fiercely. Huangfu Fengyan hid behind the crowd. A trace of disdain flashed across her eyes as she looked at Gong Xiazhu, whose face was ashen and twisted. However, when Gong Xiazhu looked over, Huangfu Fengyan's expression had already changed. Princess Xiazhu, I'll leave the rest to you. Gong Xiazhu clenched her fists as a cold light flickered in her eyes. She gave a cold laugh as her gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo. Bring back this princess's son-in-law. Anyone who tries to stop me will be killed without mercy. Huangfu Sheng was entangled by Huangfu Dongyu's men. When the royal family's guards that Gong Xiazhu brought along attacked Yiqing Luo, the people that Huangfu Dongyu brought were even fiercer. Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi couldn't help her at all. In their hearts, although they believed that based on Yiqing Luo's intelligence, one Gong Xiazhu wasn't enough to be feared. But the current Yiqing Luo had no profound energy. They couldn't help but worry. Yiqing Luo didn't even budge an inch. Looking at the royal guards charging at him, he even laughed. Gong Xiazhu gave a cold laugh. Pretending to be mysterious. Do you think that you can still rely on your poison to save your life? This princess had already made them take the antidote pill. No matter what kind of poison it is, it won't have any effect on them. Yiqing Luo gave a shocked look as she cried out in shock. Immediately following that, she blinked her eyes. How incredible, you even thought of using the antidote pill to deal with me. End of this chapter. Chapter 4358. His appearance, too, her charming eyes were blinking. It accentuated the young lady's gorgeous face, innocent and pure. But those who knew the young lady in front of them were very clear. The young lady's true face under this mask. Gong Xiaoju's expression was gloomy. Looking at the young lady's expression, she had an ominous premonition. But looking at the young lady's mocking gaze and smile, her heart was filled with uncontrollable resentment. Gong Xiaoju's expression twisted. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Are you silly, forgetting so quickly? What about me? I have so many backers, do you think you can hurt me? The young lady's arrogant words were filled with endless delight. As though she was provoking Gong Xiaoju. Profound waves flowed. In front of the young lady, a black figure appeared, blocking the Huang family's guard. After both sides' profound energy clashed, both sides retreated a little. That was Gu Residence's #1 secret guard, Gu Yi. Regarding Gu Yi, basically the entire Heaven Realm had heard of him. After all, he was Bone Lord's secret helper. It could be said that Bone Lord's secret matters were all done by Gu Yi. Gong Xiaoju knew that Yiqing Luo had Gu Residence's secret guards by her side. But she didn't expect a powerful figure like Gu Yi to actually follow beside a trash every day to be a trash's guard? This was simply a waste of God's talent. Gu Yi, are you sure that lady is the person that Gu Residence has acknowledged? You're so loyal to her, aren't you afraid that you'll follow the wrong person and betray Bone Lord? Gong Xiaoju stared at Gu Yi, attempting to influence his thoughts. But unexpectedly, Gu Yi totally ignored her. Gu Yi's attention was focused on the Huang family's guard. The expression on his face was solemn and cold. Eldest miss, do we need to increase the number of secret guards? Yiqing Luo crossed her arms as she spoke languidly. These people are not your match, just fight and kill, I'll take care of everything for you. Yes. Gu Yi didn't waste any time as he agreed to Yiqing Luo's command. Gong Xiaoju snorted coldly, just a small secret guard, since you're looking for death, this princess doesn't need to care about Bone Lord's face. Her gaze turned and looked towards the outside of the crowd as her voice sounded unusually treacherous. Young Miss Bai, I'll have to trouble you. As soon as she finished speaking, a woman in a pale pink dress flew out from the crowd and landed in front of Gong Xiaoju. The woman had a young face and looked to be no more than 15 or 16 years old. But her figure was very hot and sexy. Her breasts were curvy, and her every movement was filled with the seductiveness and charm of a mature woman. The woman's facial features were exquisite and beautiful, but there was a vulgar charm in her eyes. It made people feel extremely uncomfortable. He didn't know why, but when he saw this woman he felt a chill run down his spine. Yiqing Luo felt a sense of familiarity. She had seen this woman before? No. If she had really seen him before, there was no way she wouldn't remember him. Miss Bai, I'll have to trouble you to deal with that slut. Gong Xiaoju's attitude towards that woman was very respectful. The woman smiled charmingly. The gaze he shot towards Yiqing Luo was filled with cold murderous intent. Her fingers caressed her lips, overflowing with seductiveness. Swaying her willowy waist, she walked towards Yiqing Luo in a flirtatious manner. The pale pink dress fluttered, it was obviously a pure and fairy-like look. But it had forcefully turned into a vulgar one. Just at this moment, a light and slow footsteps were heard. The footsteps were light and slow, but each step seemed to be stepping on everyone's hearts. His stomach hurt. He had promised to catch up on the last chapter today, but he couldn't do it anymore. Drag it for a day, catch up tomorrow, meow meow meow. End of this chapter. Chapter 43:59. After all, she had changed her face. Very quickly, the lady walked in front of Yiqing Luo. Her target was very clear. A pair of gaudy eyes stared straight at Yiqing Luo. Immediately after, her red lips curled upwards, curling into a charming smile. Yiqing Luo frowned as her eyes congealed. Who are you? Giggle giggle. The lady covered her red lips with her slender hand as she laughed. This smile was extremely charming. It didn't match with that young and elegant face. She hooked a lock of hair on her shoulder as she held it by the side of her lips. Her posture was extremely sexy. Don't you recognize me so soon? Her fingers slowly caressed her face as she laughed softly. That's true, after all I have changed my face. Yiqing Luo's pupils shrunk. Her eyes were fixated on the lady in front of her. She finally knew why she felt that this lady was familiar. Bai Mei. This kind of natural charm and that kind of vulgar behavior. Other than Bai Mei there was no one else. The last time in the Earth Realm, Bai Mei intentionally brought along Ah Xian's impostor to create havoc in the Earth realm. It was obviously another face. Why did she change her face now? This Bai Mei had really gone mad. Thinking of me? Bai Mei giggled. It's rare that you still remember me, it really makes me happy. When she said the last sentence, Bai Mei's tone was obviously heavier as it was filled with venom. This time round, what are you trying to do? Seeing Bai Mei's appearance, Yiqing Luo was almost certain that the secluded palace had really interfered in the heaven realm's matters. And now Bai Mei had found Gong Xiazhu. Apparently it was because she knew of her existence. What Ren Jiaming said about the rankings was most probably true. Bai Mei slowly raised her hand. Her fair fingers curled slightly as it turned into a claw shape. You who have lost your profound energy. How can you escape from my palm? As soon as she finished speaking, Yi Zichen's expression changed. Her hand swiftly grabbed towards Yiqing Luo. A ray of silver light flashed past Yiqing Luo's eyes. The moment Bai Mei stretched out her fingers, a few thin steel needles emerged from her fingertips. The needle head was black. Poisonous steel needles. Yiqing Luo's brows creased as she speedily retreated backwards. Bai Mei gave a cold laugh, totally not worried that Yiqing Luo would be able to escape from her attack range. With a wave of his arm, he charged forward once more. Yiqing Luo, who had lost her profound energy, naturally couldn't be compared to Bai Mei, even with his well-practiced footwork. Without the help of profound energy, Yiqing Luo merely evaded a few steps. Once again Bai Mei clung onto him. The woman's young and beautiful face was filled with a flirtatious smile. His smile was mixed with absolute killing intent. No one can save you. No one. Bai Mei's other hand clasped onto Yiqing Luo's shoulder. After locking him up, the hand with the steel needle pierced towards Yiqing Luo's head. Are you sure? Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed with a teasing glint as the corners of her lips curled into a cold arc. Bai Mei's heart trembled as an ominous premonition surged. Suddenly, the hand which was pressing on Yiqing Luo's shoulder seemed to be scorched by a blazing fire. She was in so much pain that she was sent flying by an invisible flame. Before Bai Mei could react in time, all of a sudden, another powerful pressure came pouring down from the sky. Bai Mei only felt a deafening buzzing sound beside her ears. Following that, her limbs and bones felt as though they were broken. The pain was indescribable. End of this chapter. Chapter 4360. His appearance, 3. A majestic and terrifying aura lingered in the air. The entire restaurant was blasted apart because of this. The majestic aura was like a surging tide, crashing against everything in the surroundings. The surrounding crowd were all stunned by this powerful energy. What energy is this? Who is it? Such a powerful aura, I can't breathe. The crowd's discussions were all transmitted into Bai Mei's ears. She could feel more clearly than anyone else just how powerful this powerful energy was. A mouthful of blood spurted out from her mouth. Her internal organs felt as though they had been shattered. That slut still had a backup. She actually had a backer. Why was she so lucky? Why was it that every single time, there was someone who protected her? Bai Mei's heart was so jealous that it almost distorted. Everyone was extremely shocked, guessing who the owner of this energy was. Whereas Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as she slowly crossed her arms, the expression on her face was a little congealed. It's him? Why was he here? Could it be that it had something to do with the secluded palace? Her mind was filled with questions hovering in her mind. She creased her slender brows slightly as she raised her head and looked towards the direction of the profound wave. Even though she had lost her profound energy, towards that profound wave in the air she could still feel it. Very familiar. She wasn't unfamiliar with it. Immediately following that, under everyone's gaze, a tall figure, as though stepping on the moon, appeared. The red flame brocade robe, the extremely cold imposing manner, formed an obvious contrast. But on this person it didn't seem out of place at all. Following that figure walking out, a gush of terrifying aura floated in the air. The profound wave was misty. Everyone saw that. Extraordinarily handsome, but as though it was 1,000-years-old frost, unable to melt that face. The crowd drew in a breath of cold air, and some almost couldn't stand still. Yes. Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master. Heavens, why did the Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master appear here? Wait, why did the Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master make a move on the guest invited by Princess Xiazhu? Could it be to save the first miss of the Gu residence? From the looks of it, the pavilion master of Hongqing Pavilion really seems to be protecting the first miss of the Gu clan. Everyone spoke one after another, their hearts filled with shock. He couldn't believe it. Rumor had it that the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion had come from the God Realm, a mysterious power that could travel between the Earth Realm and the Heavenly Realm. While everyone was discussing the Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master, Yiqing Luo's half-squinted eyes retracted some of her expression. It was indeed him. Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master, Zhu Wuxin. The man was as cold as jade, looking at her expressionlessly. He met the young girl's gaze. He then walked straight towards the young girl. His actions caused everyone to hold their breaths. Seeing that the man was genuine, he walked straight towards Yiqing Luo's direction. All of them almost jumped up from the ground. The pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion was really trying to save the first miss of the Gu residence. What was the relationship between them? Why did this young miss of the Gu residence seem more and more sinister the more he looked at her? It seemed like ever since the first miss of the Gu residence appeared, all the people who wanted to find trouble with the Gu residence did not have a good ending? Could it be that this eldest miss of the Gu residence was actually hiding something deeply? The crowd's emotions were in turmoil. But the main character who shocked everyone, Zhu Wuxian, didn't have any feelings. He slowly walked to the front of Yiqing Luo and stood still. Long time no see. End of this chapter. Chapter 4361. Yiqing Luo met his gaze. Long time no see. Zhu Wuxian's eyes were burning as he stared intently at her face. Why? What? Yiqing Luo, who was asked this question out of the blue, was in a daze. Zhu Wuxian's voice sounded a little desolate. Why didn't you look for me when you knew I was in the heaven realm? That handsome face was covered with a desolate expression. It made his cold and aloof temperament even more desolate. It made one not dare to get close to him. But one couldn't help but feel heartache. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Why should I look for you? Previously in the Earth Realm, Zhu Wuxian had indeed said that he was going to the Heaven Realm to settle some matters when he bid her farewell. She had indeed never thought of looking for him when she reached the Heaven Realm. After all, towards Zhu Wuxian she didn't know what kind of attitude she should use to face him. Zhu Wuxian's obsession towards her, or rather this body of hers, was too deep. She wasn't willing to have too much involvement with Zhu Wuxian. Moreover, Dmo Xian wasn't in the Heaven Realm now. She was even more unwilling to have too much interaction with Zhu Wuxian. Otherwise, if Dmo Xian found out, wouldn't he turn the vinegar jar upside down? You're still so cold towards me. Zhu Wuxian laughed softly. His thin lips curled into a frivolous arc, filled with bitterness. Yiqing Luo remained unmoved. It's good that you know. But I still want to get close to you. Zhu Wuxian smiled again. Yiqing Luo? She really wasn't used to Zhu Wuxian's type of man suddenly saying sweet nothings. It made her feel uncomfortable all over. She rubbed her arms and stopped reminiscing with Zhu Wuxian. Her gaze shifted from Zhu Wuxian to Bai Mei, who was being supported by Gong Xiaozhu and Yu Ying. She raised her slender brows as her lips curled into a smile, yet not a smile. That time I asked you if your trip to the Heaven Realm was related to the secluded palace, you had nothing to say. Now. Yiqing Luo's finger pointed at Bai Mei. You're together? Zhu Wuxian's gaze was deep. If I'm together with them, I wouldn't have saved you. Do I look like someone who needs saving? Yiqing Luo's lips curled as her eyes were filled with ridicule. For someone as smart as you, how could you possibly not tell that I'm setting a trap for Bai Mei? She slowly retracted her hand that was pointing at Bai Mei. Her fair and slender fingers gently touched her chin. The mockery and ridicule in her eyes intensified. Are you really helping me by making a move? Zhu Wuxian's cold eyes seemed to be shaken by something. There were some slight changes. But very quickly he was still as cold and indifferent as before. His gaze, which was locked onto Yiqing Luo, was like a 10,000-year-old cold lake. In your heart, is this how you think of me? Yes. Yiqing Luo replied decisively. I don't dare to say I understand you. But, based on my understanding of you in the past, I don't think my deduction is wrong. The situation at that time. Even Bai Mei felt it and wanted to get out of her range. Not to mention that Zhu Wuxin did not know. Had she already drugged Bai Mei? Even if Zhu Wuxin did not make a move, Bai Mei would never be able to hurt her. Thus, Zhu Wuxin's action at that time was clearly to save Bai Mei. Zhu Wuxian's expression congealed for a moment before he opened his mouth coldly. In that case, I should thank you for understanding me so well? Yiqing Luo waved her hand. There's no need to thank me. I just want to ask you a question. Chapter 4362. No relation whatsoever. Zhu Wuxin looked at her in silence. Yiqing Luo's lips curled. You're here? Are you trying to stop this pointless battle, or are you trying to help Bai Mei to deal with me? Since you understand me so well, why not? Guess what I'm thinking? Zhu Wuxen suddenly leaned forward and magnified his own face right into Yiqing Luo's pupils. Yiqing Luo looked at him indifferently. I'm guessing both? And Zhu Wuxin's action. The surrounding people unconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. When he saw the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion take the initiative to speak to the first young miss of the Gu clan, he felt a chill run down his spine. The young miss of the Gu estate clearly did not have a good attitude towards the pavilion master of the Scarlet Clear Pavilion. But the master of the Red Clear Pavilion laughed again and again. Yes, he smiled. Anyone who had heard the rumors about the Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master would know. The pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion was a cold and heartless man. People called him a person without a soul. He was always expressionless, forever cold and indifferent. His entire body exuded a cold aura. But, however, when the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion faced the young lady of the Gu clan, he revealed a smile. Although small is very shallow. It was almost too faint to be seen. But he did smile. Now, the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion had even taken the initiative to get close to the young miss of the Gu residence. Wasn't this telling everyone? This first young miss of the Gu residence was a subordinate of his Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. Everyone became more and more shocked and probed into the young miss of the Gu clan. With the Bone residence as her backing, Lord Bone Lord was her backing. The second young master of the Ren family was obsessed with her and adored her. He also had a close relationship with the young master of the Huangfu family. And now, even the master of the Red Clarity Pavilion had arrived. Just what was the identity of the first miss of the Gu residence? Everyone was rejoicing that they did not choose a side and make life difficult for the first miss of the Gu residence. There were also many people who looked at Gong Xiaozhu sympathetically. Gong Xiaozhu was so angry that her face was distorted, and the jealousy in her eyes burned continuously. She clenched her hands into fists and gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Whereas for Yiqing Luo, who was leaning close to Zhu Wuxan, wasn't the least bit shocked. He had no intention of retreating. Just like that, he smiled and met Zhu Wuxin's eyes. The distance between them was so close that they could almost feel each other's breath. Both of them were wearing fiery red robes. One was cold and aloof. One was bewitching and arrogant. They stood so close to each other. It was as beautiful as a painting. Everyone came to a realization. This first young miss of the Bone Palace, who did not have any profound strength and was called Trash, was not inferior in the slightest when she stood beside the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion. He wasn't suppressed by the cold aura of the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master at all. How could someone with such an aura be an ordinary person? The crowd discussed in hushed voices as well as astonishment towards Yiqing Luo's guess. Their tones were filled with unconcealable respect. This caused Gong Xiaozhu's face to become even more distorted. After enduring for a long time, she finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Pavilion Master, what's the relationship between you two? Yu Ying, who was supporting Bai Mei, did not manage to grab her princess in time. Gong Xiaozhu rushed forward a few steps, his eyes filled with anger. Pavilion Master, that woman is a promiscuous woman. She can't stand the loneliness at all and goes around flirting. Even this princess's fiancé has fallen under her skirt. You must not be deceived by her. The woman screamed hysterically. This caused the two of them to pull apart some distance. Zhu Wuxen shot a glance at Gong Xiaozhu as he spoke calmly. Yiqing Luo, tell me, what's the relationship between us? Relationship? Yiqing Luo's mischievous gaze swept past Gong Xiaozhu, and looked at Zhu Wuxen with a smile which didn't look like a smile. You and I have nothing to do with each other. Update complete. Moi, there's still the last chapter to update to be delivered later. End of this chapter. Chapter 4363. 1 second to remember, this is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Zhu Wuxen seemed as though he knew that Yiqing Luo would reply in this way. There wasn't a single bit of unhappiness on his face. On the contrary, his thin lips curled up again, and this time the arc was very obvious. It shocked the surrounding crowd. Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master really smiled. But what made everyone's jaws drop onto the ground was, after Zhu Wuxian smiled, he used a deep husky, which could be said to be an extremely gentle voice as he spoke. To you, I have nothing to do with you. But to me, you are the lady whom I want to woo. The surroundings were filled with the sounds of people drawing in cold air. The crowd simply couldn't believe their own ears. They were absolutely dreaming, absolutely hallucinating. In the rumors, the mysterious and cold Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master was always unsmiling, and his pair of eyes could freeze one to death. But now, not only was he smiling at a lady, he even spoke words of love. There were quite a number of ladies present who clasped their hands together as hearts popped out from their eyes. My legs are going soft, this is just too tempting. So the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master isn't too cold, but the only person he wants to warm is eldest young miss of the Gu residence. He's cold and stern to everyone, but only towards Gu residence's eldest young miss. He treats her gently. This is all the ladies' dream. The crowd felt that they had been shocked. All of them used envious gazes as they looked at Yiqing Luo. These words, when landed in different people's ears, had different feelings. Gong Xiazhu and Bai Mei were about to explode from anger. Their faces turned pale as their entire bodies started to tremble slightly. Their tightly pursed red lips were almost bitten till blood came out. The flames of jealousy were burning in their hearts, almost burning their rationality. Their venomous gazes were scorching hot. Yiqing Luo naturally felt it. She raised her slender brows slightly as her long and narrow eyes squinted. The smile on her lips was filled with ridicule. Young Master Zhu's words are very moving, but you've used the wrong target. She only gave a slight smile. But in her half-squinted eyes, there was a chill that made one's heart tremble. Pavilion Master. In the end, Bai Mei could not bear it any longer. She shrieked, "Don't forget why you're here today." Bai Mei felt the most resentful. His internal organs were injured by Zhu Wuxin without any explanation. If it wasn't for her strong willpower and the fact that there was something in her body protecting her, he was afraid that he would lose his life now. But when it came to Zhu Wuxin, she still couldn't question him, couldn't seek justice for the injuries she had suffered. Because the other party was the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion. Even if she died, the Palace of Gloomy Darkness would not say anything for her. He was such an outstanding and honorable man. He was also Yiqing Luo, that slut servant. That was how venerable sovereigns were. The pavilion master was the same. What's so good about that bitch? Bai Mei's face was contorted with rage. But, the moment the man's eyes met her eyes, Ji Yunshu's expression froze. It was as if 10,000 years of frost had directly covered her body. She felt a chill run down her spine. All the rage, in the blink of an eye they were all extinguished. She felt as though she was immersed in frost, shivering non-stop. Do you have the right to speak when I'm doing things? Zhu Wuxin's cold voice was filled with endless chill. Bai Mei shivered as she lowered her head, not daring to say another word. The surrounding crowd understood what was going on. This eldest young miss of the Gu residence was someone whom none of them could touch. Chapter 4364. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. The pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion was a person who placed the young miss of the Gu clan in the center of his heart and doted on her. It seemed that when it came to choosing sides in the future, they already had a candidate in mind. Chi. A chuckle broke the heavy atmosphere. The girl's eyes were filled with disdain as a cold glint flashed across her lips. Since young Master Chu is here on a mission, let's not waste each other's time. Am in a hurry to catch up with a friend that I haven't seen for a long time. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Zhu Wuxin replied with a calm expression. Then he walked upstairs, minding his own business. It is indeed time for us to catch up. Yiqing Luo, long time no see. This guy's skin was quite thick. He clearly knew that the person she wanted to reminisce with wasn't him. But he did it on purpose. He substituted himself. Was she supposed to cooperate? Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. He turned around and walked out of the ruined restaurant. He passed by the innkeeper of the restaurant who wanted to cry but did not dare to say anything. She raised her eyebrows. She thought of how the waiter had hurried over to tell her that Ren jamming had been stopped. She stopped in her tracks, raised her hand and patted the innkeeper's shoulder. Princess Jianghu will bear all the losses of the restaurant today. Also, Princess Jianghu will also be responsible for the losses caused by the restaurant not being able to operate in the near future. The shopkeeper was dumbfounded. Yiqing Luo smiled. Don't be afraid, she will be willing to take responsibility. Saying that, Yiqing Luo left directly. Huang Fuxing, Gu Zixi and Ren Jiaming, who were standing behind him, were still dumbfounded. He watched as Yiqing Luo left. The three of them then regained their senses as they hurriedly brought their men and followed after Yiqing Luo. Stop right there. Who allowed you to leave? Seeing this, Bai Mei snapped and ordered the guards beside her. Stop them. Stop them. However, whether it was the Huangfu secret guards or the imperial guards, all of them stood on the spot and looked at each other. No one dared to move a single step. What a joke. The pavilion master had already made his stance clear. He wanted to protect the first miss of the Gu estate. If they rashly touched young miss, the master of the Red Clear Pavilion would kill them. Who would dare to touch the young miss of the Gu estate? Bai Mei shouted several times, but there was no response. She was so angry that her face turned red. She was both angry and embarrassed. Even Gong Xiazhu, on seeing Ren Jiaming leaving with Yiqing Luo, didn't dare to go up and snatch it back forcefully. However, everyone was truly impressed. The first miss of the Gu estate actually dared to completely ignore the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion and leave by herself. If this happened to the emperor or the four great families' patriarchs, even they wouldn't dare to do this. In this world, only the first miss of the Gu clan would be so daring. At this moment, Zhu Wuxin, who was walking towards the second floor of the restaurant, stopped. He looked at the backs of Yiqing Luo and the rest who were already far away. His cold and deep eyes were devoid of any emotion. Gong Xiazhu clenched his fists tightly and snorted coldly in a low voice. That bitch really thinks she's so great. Does she think she can do whatever she wants with Bone Lord's support? Pavilion Master is much more honorable than Bone Sovereign. Bai Mei did not respond. She stared intently at Yiqing Luo's departing back. That young and elegant face, under the malevolence, actually surfaced several layers of wrinkles. As though a piece of human skin was about to peel off from her face. Gong Xiazhu didn't know. But she was very clear. Towards Yiqing Luo, Chu Wuxen was simply infatuated with her. Chapter 4365. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Even if Yiqing Luo threw his face in front of everyone, Zhu Wuxen wouldn't blame her at all. The more Bai Mei thought about it, the more indignant she felt. As expected, Zhu Wuxen stared at Yiqing Luo's back view for several breaths. It was as if he was certain that the other party would not turn around. Without any hesitation, he lifted his foot and followed behind. Just as he reached the door, Zhu Wuxen seemed to have thought of something as he took a look at Yiqing Luo and then glanced sideways at Bai Mei. Earlier, did you hear what Yiqing Luo said clearly? The restaurant's losses will be compensated. Saying that, he had already followed behind Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei. He was so angry that he wanted to explode. He actually remembered clearly what Yiqing Luo had casually said earlier, and even put it into action. Gong Xiazhu originally heard Yiqing Luo and the shopkeeper saying that she would be responsible for the losses, but she treated it as a joke. The last time at 100 Medicine House, she was cheated by Yiqing Luo of more than half of her assets. And now he wanted her to take responsibility for this lousy restaurant? However, Bai Mei seemed to have seen through her thoughts. She sneered and tilted her head to look at her. Didn't you hear what the Pavilion Master said? Are you sure you want to defy Lord Pavilion Master's orders? All the fluctuations in Gong Xiazhu's heart stopped at this moment. She bit her lips tightly and only managed to squeeze out 2 words after a long while. I don't dare. Huangfu Fengyan and Huangfu Dongyu's expressions were also extremely ugly because of Zhu Wuxin's appearance. Until the figures of those people disappeared completely. Huangfu Dongyu's face darkened as he looked at Bai Mei. What's going on? Why is the Pavilion Master here? They had arranged everything. It was to take advantage of the moment when Yiqing Luo lost her profound energy. Kill Yiqing Luo. On top of that, he wanted Pei Xing to leave the Huangfu family. Why did it come to a critical moment? Just like that, a Lord Pavilion Master popped up. This was like a duck that was about to be eaten was suddenly snatched away by a tiger. Why are you getting mad at me? If you have the ability, ask the Pavilion Master's people. Bai Mei sneered coldly. Huangfu Dongyu still wanted to say something. However, Huangfu Fengyan stopped her. Bai Mei's face contorted, and her eyes seemed to be stained with poison. Heh, bitch, I will definitely make her suffer a fate worse than death. As she gritted her teeth, his expression became even more ferocious. Suddenly Gong Sheju's eyes widened and she looked at Bai Mei in fright. Miss Bai, your face, your face? Bai Mei's ferocious expression froze on her face. He subconsciously reached out to touch his face. What's wrong with my face? The Huangfu siblings also looked over when they heard the exclamation. When he saw Bai Mei's face, both of them sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly retreated. Gong Xiaoju was also shocked. She took 2 steps back and stared at her in shock. Your face, look at it yourself. In a flurry she took out a small bronze mirror from Yu Ying's bosom. With a trembling hand, he tossed it into Bai Mei's hand. What Bai Mei cared about the most was her face. He immediately raised the bronze mirror. In the bronze mirror, wrinkles appeared on the woman's face. More than half of it fell off from her face, revealing the purplish-black flesh underneath. Pieces fell off here and there, wrinkles. It made her look extremely terrifying. Bai Mei suddenly burst out with a terrified scream. She smashed the bronze mirror onto the ground and covered her face, screaming as she turned around and fled the scene. These mournful cries, even though they were very far away, Yiqing Luo and the others could hear it. Gu Zixi looked towards the direction of the voice in puzzlement. What's the matter with that Bai Mei? How can she get high on her own? Chapter 4366. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into an ambiguous smile. Ren Jiaming limped as he walked by the side. Seeing the young lady's brows overflowing with craftiness, surely it's not you who did it? Yiqing Luo's pink lips were sweet like a fox's as her coquettish eyes squinted slightly as she said word by word, I merely gave her a small present. Treat it as Bai Mei's return gift to her. When the few of them saw Yiqing Luo's smile, they couldn't help but shivered. One by one they rubbed their arms. Obviously knowing that Yiqing Luo was a female devil, Bai Mei still dared to provoke her. Her courage was really commendable. Let's observe a moment of silence for her. The few of them were chatting happily. However, no one paid any attention to Zhu Wuxin, who had been following behind them in silence the whole time. Even though he didn't say a single word. But the imposing manner which he was emitting made one unable to ignore his existence. The chilly air spread in the air. In between breaths, even the air seemed to have been condensed into frost. Gu Zixi would turn her head around from time to time to look at Zhu Wuxin. This frequent action. This made Huangfu Sheng a little unhappy. Just as Gu Zixi turned her head around once again to look at Zhu Wuxin, Huangfu Sheng's large palm was placed on Gu Zixi head. He cupped her face with his other hand. He turned her gaze to him. Gu Zixi blinked her eyes as she looked at Huangfu Sheng, whose expression wasn't too good and couldn't help but smiled as her arms hooked around his neck. Aya, you obviously know. I just wanted to see how long he was going to follow me for. Huangfu Sheng's expression was still not too good. You're not allowed to look at other men for so long. Alright, I'll only look at Ah Sheng alone. Gu Zixi leaned forward and planted a light kiss on his cheek. Huangfu Sheng's expression then turned slightly better. But Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the side, expressed that her expression wasn't too good. She hadn't contacted Ah Xian for a long time. Now she didn't even know where Ah Xian was. The two of them were actually openly showing off their love. Had she considered the feelings of her missing her husband so much that she fell ill? This baby also had emotions. Yiqing Luo's offensive gaze. He successfully stopped the two from showing off their affection. Gu Zixi cast a sneaky glance behind her and giggled as she moved closer to Yiqing Luo. Don't be angry, even if there's no overlord, isn't there? There's still an outstanding man waiting for you. Yiqing Luo pinched her waist. When Ah Xing goes out to handle some matters, I'll help you choose a few outstanding men, how about that? Gu Zixi smiled apologetically. Okay, I was wrong. Don't let Ah Xing hear this. It's too late, he has already heard it. Yiqing Luo lifted her chin, indicating her to look behind her. He turned his head. She saw Huangfu Sheng, whom she had finally appeased, had a gloomy expression again. Gu Zixi wanted to cry. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have been the cheapest. Looking at Gu Zixi coaxing her own man, Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with gentleness. Ren Jiaming limped over to Yiqing Luo and spat out a sentence, eldest miss. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past his face. He opened his eyes again. Where was Yiqing Luo's figure? Ren Jiaming's face turned pale. He was about to call out to Huang Fusheng, but his eyes looked at the other side. Zhu Wuxia held Yiqing Luo's wrist as the both of them stood there. The atmosphere was solemn. Chapter 4367. It wasn't far. Yiqing Luo raised her head slightly, the emotions between her brows were very faint, her gaze fell onto the man's wrist which was clasped on her. Let go of me. Do you hate me that much? Zhu Wuxin's voice was a little bitter. He didn't loosen his grip and Yiqing Luo could only struggle out of his grip while replying, to tell the truth, I don't hate you. She rubbed her wrist and took a step back, putting some distance between them. Then she raised her head and looked at him. Why are you following me? I missed you. Zhu Wuxin's ability to say sweet nothings had already been activated. He used this expressionless face to say sweet nothings, but it did not feel out of place at all. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with foolishness. Did Master Chu think that I didn't hear what Bai Mei said earlier? The relationship between Chu Wuxin and Gloomy Palace. Yiqing Luo didn't intend to investigate further. No matter how he asked. Since Zhu Wuxia was unwilling to say it, there was nothing she could do. The only thing he could be sure of was, Zhu Wuxin was in the heaven realm because of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. The reason why Chu Wuxin had appeared was also because of the Gloomy Palace. Thinking of this, the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips became even more ridiculing. To tell the truth, I am also very curious, what is the motive of Bai Mei reminding you not to forget? You want to know? Zhu Wuxin chuckled softly. There was a black mist in his eyes. There was a strange coldness in his deep and cold eyes. Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly. Will you say it? As long as you come with me, I can tell you everything you want to know. Chu Wuxin's thin lips curled up. His expression was ice cold, but his tone was extremely serious. Yiqing Luo's heart sunk slightly as she subconsciously took a step back, as her eyes looked at Zhu Wuxian vigilantly. That vigilant look. It stung Zhu Wuxian's eyes. He couldn't help but laugh, his eyes full of bitterness. Did I completely lose your trust after one mistake? Yiqing Luo pursed her lips and didn't say anything. However, the wariness between his brows did not relax because of this. Chu Wuxian gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo's face. The rumbling black fog in his eyes became thicker and thicker. He was almost drowned in the darkness. After a long while, the look in his eyes changed slightly. His thin lips moved slightly and he said very seriously, I said, I will never do anything to hurt you. Yiqing Luo's pink lips pursed even tighter. She really couldn't figure out Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin's obsession with her was very deep. It had already exceeded the scope of a normal person. Yiqing Zhen couldn't imagine what kind of things a person who had gone crazy because of obsession would do. Especially those who were connected to the Dark Nether Palace. Chu Wuxian didn't wait for Yiqing Luo's reply. What he said didn't make Yiqing Luo relax. His eyes darkened and his voice lowered. It's been a long time since we last met. Let's catch up. What do you want to say? Yiqing Luo asked. Let's find a place and have a drink. Chu Wuxin did not give a direct answer. Yiqing Luo took a look at Zhu Wuxian and looked at the three people who were gathered not too far away, looking at her worriedly. She pondered for a moment before answering, okay. Gu residence, Yiqing Luo's courtyard. Gu Yun carefully served up the wine flask as she listened to Yiqing Luo's orders and retreated. The surrounding Yiqing Luo had already asked everyone to leave. Gu Yun just walked out from the courtyard. Chapter 4368. Gu Yun shook her head. Everyone's faces fell. Although the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion lord's attitude towards Yiqing Luo seemed much gentler than the others. However, he was a cold-blooded and merciless person who killed without batting an eyelid. If Yiqing Luo's words made the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion lord unhappy, what if the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master made a move on Yiqing Luo? After all, Yiqing Luo had no profound energy. Thinking of this, Ren Jiaming could not stand still. No, I have to go in and take a look. Who knows if the Scarlet Clear Pavilion's pavilion master will go berserk and make a move on our young miss. With that, he was about to rush into the courtyard. Huang Fusheng hurriedly pulled him back. Luo must have something to say to him if he agreed to talk to him alone. Don't mess things up here. What do you mean by causing trouble? I'm worried about young mistress. Ren Jiaming complained. Huang Fusheng suddenly stared at Ren Jiaming, sizing him up as if he wanted to see through Ren Jiaming. That blatant gaze. Ren Jiaming clutched his chest uncomfortably. What do you want to do? Huang Fuxing narrowed his eyes. Luo said that, you told the public that she is your fiancée and that you've been pestering her. It's all an act. But, why do I feel like you've really fallen for Luo? Ren Jiaming's heart skipped a beat. He opened his mouth to deny it. But when the words reached his mouth, the girl's confident and flamboyant smile appeared in his mind. He couldn't bring himself to deny it. Gu Zishi moved her little head over and looked Ren Jiaming up and down. She raised her index finger and shook it. You better not fall in love with Luo. She already has a husband. If you really fall in love with her, you'll get hurt. Husband? Husband? When Ren Jiaming heard these two words, he was startled. Gu Zishi's beautiful eyes widened. Yes, our Luo has a peerless husband, and their relationship is very good. Don't tell me, you really fell in love with Luo? Unparalleled in the world. Their relationship was very good. Gu Zishi's words made Ren Jiaming's heart feel like it had been punched hard by something. It made him feel suffocated. Why? When he heard that Yiqing Luo had a husband, why was his heart so sad? Could it be that he really... This thought made Ren Jiaming shudder. He hurriedly shook his head. Although there were many scars on his handsome face, an exaggerated laugh appeared. I pestered her because I wanted her to promise me something. Haha, she's so violent, how could I fall for her? As he spoke, he let out an exaggerated laugh. Then, as if to change the topic, he asked curiously, Is Mrs. name Luo? Is your relationship with First Miss very good? Yiqing Luo had been in the Heaven Realm for this period of time. Everyone knew about the first young miss of the Bone Clan. But he had never heard Yiqing Luo mention her real name. That's right. Not only do we have a good relationship with Luo, but we also know a lot about him. Gu Zishi indeed didn't pursue further about his feelings towards Yiqing Luo as he followed along with Ren Jiaming's topic. In the courtyard, Yiqing Luo pushed the wine pot in front of Zhu Wuxia as she tilted her head and looked at him. Now it's quiet, what do you want to say? Say it directly. Zhu Wuxia poured himself a cup of wine and downed it in one gulp. His indifferent face had no trace of emotion. Chapter 4369. Accompany me for a drink or two. The man's deep voice was cold, but not knowing why, she could hear a few hints of pleading in it. Yiqing Luo? This fellow was getting worse and worse at disguising himself in front of her. Words of love came one after another. Even the ability to act pitiful had already been activated. To tell the truth, towards other men other than Xian, she wouldn't have much feelings towards any handsome man or bitter love scheme. But looking at Zhu Wuxian's contrast. Moreover, towards Zhu Wuxian she really couldn't be considered as loathing or hatred. So she didn't really reject him. She picked up another jug of wine and poured a cup. She didn't even touch glasses with Zhu Wuxian as she directly drank a cup of wine. Then she put down the wine cup and looked at Zhu Wuxian. I finished the wine, speak. Zhu Wuxian's fingers which were holding the wine cup tightened slightly. His fingertips were strangely white. Between his pupils, there was a thick black mist shrouding all his emotions. Just like that he looked at Yiqing Luo quietly. Between his brows, there was a sense of self-ridicule. Yiqing Luo, who was stared at by this gaze, rubbed her arms as she angrily retorted, What are you looking at? If you don't talk about proper matters, I'm going to chase you away. Looking at you. Another sudden words of love. Still expressionless emotions. Looking at that face. Yiqing Luo was suspecting if she had heard wrongly. But immediately following that, she heard him continuing, You won't chase me away. Incredible Zhu Wuxian. She indeed wouldn't chase him away. After all, she couldn't beat Zhu Wuxian now. If Zhu Wuxian wasn't willing to leave, what could she use to chase him away? Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, not willing to listen to Zhu Wuxian's words of love. Yes, I can't chase you away, but I can leave. Saying that, she stood up and turned around as she walked towards the inner courtyard. She hadn't even taken 2 steps. A man's low voice was heard from behind. Bai Mei came to Heaven Realm and... The reason why you came to Heaven Realm, don't you want to know? This sentence successfully stopped Yiqing Luo from taking another step. She returned to the stone table and sat down, placing one hand on the stone table as she asked him, What reason? Let's drink. Zhu Wuxing shook his wine cup. Yiqing Luo. She'd better leave. However, just as he was about to leave, the man continued, The Huangfu clan clearly knows your true identity, yet they allow Bai Mei to mess around with the imperial family. They don't expose your identity as the young miss of the Gu clan. Aren't you curious about the reason behind this? Yiqing Luo. Was Chu Wuxin doing this on purpose? Seeing that she still hadn't turned around, Zhu Wuxin unleashed his ultimate move. Even though they know that Di Zun won't let the Huangfu clan off, the Huangfu siblings still insist on killing you. Aren't you curious why? Yiqing Luo. Fine. You win. Yiqing Luo lifted her skirt and sat back down heavily. He grabbed a bottle of wine and slammed it on the table. How do you want to drink? I'll keep you company to the end. Zhu Wuxen seemed as though he couldn't detect the anger in Yiqing Luo's words as his cold gaze stared at Yiqing Luo's face. Let's ask each other questions. If you can't answer, then drink. How about that? Truth or dare? Yiqing Luo blurted out. Zhu Wuxen didn't understand the meaning of Yiqing Luo's words, but he understood the first 3 words. His thin lips curled upwards as he replied seriously and solemnly, yes, it must be the truth. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. All right. Sure. She could take the opportunity to ask him a lot of things which she had long wanted to know. Chapter 4370. Remember in 1 second, 800 mail sign /say, net. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Zhu Wuxin set up 2 cups and poured a full pot of wine. Yiqing Luo stared at the rippling wine. Who asks first? Whatever, Zhu Wuxin replied calmly. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as she replied impolitely, then I'll start first. First question, are you from the secluded palace? No. Zhu Wuxin's answer was very decisive. Yiqing Luo raised her long and narrow brows. We have agreed it must be the truth, no lies. I'm not lying. His expression did not change. Yiqing Luo touched her chin. If you're not from the Palace of Darkness, then why are you involved with the Palace of Darkness? This is the second question. Zhu Wuxin did not answer. It's my turn to ask you. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands. Sure, ask away. Do you have any feelings for me? Zhu Wuxin's gaze was solemn as he looked at her. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as her expression turned solemn. No. Zhu Wuxian's brows drooped slightly. Yiqing Luo didn't want to explain anything as she asked the second question. Why are you together with the people from secluded palace? Cooperation, Zhu Wuxin answered simply. Yiqing Luo rubbed her hair. What's the difference between your answer and not answering at all? Can't it be simpler? His entire body fell forward. *CK. Yiqing Luo was cursing in her heart. How could he be so unlucky? She was about to take a deep breath to stabilize her body that was about to kiss the earth. He didn't even have time to react. She could only smell a familiar scent drifting over to her nose. A light and elegant plum fragrance lingered in the air. A pair of thick arms caught her firmly. Yiqing Luo's body stiffened. This aura, it was very familiar. Almost a whiff. Yiqing Luo was able to ascertain the other party's identity. However, she couldn't understand. Why did he appear here? Yiqing Luo frowned as she struggled, trying to break free from the wrist that was restraining her arm. But it was the arm that held her. He abruptly increased the strength of his hands. Her delicate body was tightly locked in his embrace. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even more tightly. She looked up angrily. As soon as he raised his head, he found himself staring into a pair of deep, bottomless black pupils. His eyes were extremely dark and heavy. It was quiet and serene without the slightest bit of brilliance. Just staring fixedly at Yiqing Luo. There was a hint of coldness in his eyes. However, if one were to look closely, one would be able to see deep emotions in those black eyes. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened, her pink lips pursed slightly. Let go. Hugging the man at such a close distance. It made Yiqing Luo feel extremely uncomfortable. Other than Di Xian, her body was repulsed by any intimate touch from the opposite sex. I won't. The man's voice was deep and low. His eyes were dark and gloomy. I miss you. I miss you very much. Now that I've seen you, I don't want to let you go. Following his words, he even forcefully pulled Yiqing Luo into his embrace. His arms tightly embraced the girl's delicate body, as though he wanted to let the young lady's body be tainted with his scent. That plum fragrance, although simple and elegant. But Yiqing Luo couldn't take it. Her eyelashes fluttered as she clasped his hand which was restrained on her body. Zhu Wuxian, let go of me. The person in front of her. Wasn't it Zhu Wuxian? Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master, Zhu Wu Xin. Yi Qing Luo had not expected that she would be able to meet Zhu Wu Xin when she reached the Earth boundary. Chapter 4371. Romance Chinese Network Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Yi Qing Luo slowly sat up straight as her gaze met Zhu Wu Xin's gaze seriously. Then I'll tell you. Just as Yi Qing Luo was about to open her mouth, Chu Wuxin suddenly reached out, picked up the wine cup on the table and drained it in one gulp. This action made Yi Qing Luo swallow back the words that she was about to say. She looked at Zhu Wuxin. What do you mean? You don't need to answer this question. He put down the wine glass and his slender fingers slowly wiped away the wine dripping from his lips. Because of the alcohol, his eyes seemed a bit deep. Yi Qing Luo frowned slightly. He was the one who insisted on getting the answer. Now he was drinking for her and preventing her from answering. Yi Qing Luo was unable to see through the person in front of her. What was he thinking in his heart? It's your turn to ask. Zhu Wu Xin didn't give Yi Qing Luo any time to continue thinking as he called out to remind her. Yi Qing Luo stared at him for a while, but under his expressionless expression, she really couldn't see anything deeper. Fine, you're the one who won't let me answer. She restrained her emotions and continued to ask. You said before, what is Bai Mei's purpose in coming to the heaven realm? Was it arranged by the palace of gloomy darkness, or did they come after me? Zhu Wuxin, our target is you. I'll arrange it. You're using this simple answer again? Yi Qing Luo pouted. Can't you give me some useful answers? Bai Mei's only goal now is to send you to hell with her. This time, Zhu Wu Xin lengthened his sentence. The palace of gloomy shadows knows that you are in the heaven realm, so they sent Bai Mei over. Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes suddenly narrowed. As expected, the secluded darkness palace already knew that she was in the heaven realm. But there was no movement at all. If Ren Jiaming hadn't come looking for her because she was a pharmacist, even now, she might not know that the heaven realm had already been infiltrated by the forces of the Nether Palace. Her arrival in the heaven realm could be considered as an accident. Even if she was arrogant in the heaven realm, it definitely wouldn't attract the attention of the Dark Palace. Unless, the secluded Darkness Palace had long known that she would arrive at the heaven realm at this time. In Yi Qing Luo's mind the first thought was, Bloodbone Barbaric King. Could it be, all of this was actually a conspiracy set up by the Bloodbone Barbarian King in the Abyss Palace? Then, what was the use of White Charm? Restraining Baisu? Yi Qing Luo. Just as Yi Qing Luo's mind was filled with thoughts, Zhu Wuxin's voice rang out beside his ear. Did you hear what I asked you? Yi Qing Luo regained her senses. What? Zhu Wu Xin stared at Yi Qing Luo for some time as the emotions on his face were like a whirlpool churning. After a long time he finally said, I just suddenly want to know who you are. When he said the last 5 words, his tone became extremely low. A pair of deep eyes stared at her without blinking. It was as if he had seen through her eyes. He saw through everything about her. Yi Qing Luo's heart thumped, the smile on her lips was somewhat forced. What are you talking about? The her in my memory shouldn't be like you. Zhu Wu Xin leaned forward slightly, closing the distance between the two of them. I've confirmed that you didn't disguise yourself, and you have her birthmark on your body. The close distance made Yi Qing Luo able to smell the faint plum fragrance from Zhu Wu Xin's body clearly. But this fragrance wasn't able to make Yi Qing Luo's heart calm down. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.